Welcome! Bet you didn't think there'd be a live stream today, did you? Well, I knew all along. Every 3 weeks we have a week off where we don't do these classes, and that extra week, it's up to me. Usually I like to fill it in though with an extra live anyway. Last time, 3 weeks ago, we had an extra gap. That was when we did the Korean language hotline. So this week I thought, let's do something a little bit different. I don't want to do a hotline every single 3 weeks. But let's just kind of hang out, practice some sound change rules. And if you have any other questions also, I'll be open to those today. I figure we'll just do a stream. We'll just do a little short stream today. Maybe just keep it at an hour instead of like the 3-hour long streams we normally do. But we'll see how that goes. I had everyone vote on background color and you all picked purple, so I ended it early. We'll just keep it as it is. How's everyone doing? Let's see who was here first. Kai, I think Kai was first today. Hey Kai, yeah, we missed you last week. I noticed you say that you had Easter early due to some scheduling conflicts. I understand. Our internet nephew. Oh, yes, Jeremy. Yes. There's one more coming up as well, I believe, that I filmed with Jeremy. Yes, there's one more coming up, which will be, I think, next week. This week will be my 20-year anniversary video. Now, I already did a 20-year anniversary live stream last month, actually, but this will be a video where I highlight some of the main things that I learned over 20 years. So it's more of like, I don't know, like more of a serious video, whereas the live stream was just kind of an interactive thing. Let's see who else is here. Sunny Southpaw, Small, Wani Dimples, Cosma, Lady Natbug, Ib Rebecca, Kimchi Sue, Mohammed Badar, Nikki, Keith. Hey, Keith. Eter Bunny, Easter Bunny. Okay. Careful of the Easter Bunny. Yes. You don't know if it's going to be the Easter Bunny or the Killer Rabbit. You don't want to get them confused. They're both fluffy and small. Let's see. Who else is here? Jihoon Lee. Kyled. Hey, Kyled. Oh, that's right. You're no problem if you can only stay for a little bit. This stream will be saved and upload on the channel afterwards, so you can always watch it later in case you miss it. Nikki, I am Ben. Ochasuke, what's up? Kenneth, Mijuki, Lorraine, Naiq, Izadio, Yoon, Ioni. All right. Yeah, feel free to ask some questions before we get started today. I'm going to be actually reviewing some sound changes, and I'm going to be cheating a bit. I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell you a secret, okay? You will find... I'll just say it this way. No one in Korea has the sound change rules memorized. No one. I'm not saying no one kind of exaggerating. I mean, really, like no one. No one has the sound change memorized. Unless they're like a Korean teacher like myself and they do lots and lots of lessons about sound change rules. There's not a single Korean who has all the sound change rules memorized. If you ask a Korean, hey, what are the rules for batchim? Like, what are the rules for that? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? What do you mean batchim? Like, oh, the letters at the bottom. Oh, I guess I can give you an example. Like, nobody knows these rules. I don't memorize these rules. I mean, I know them because I've done lessons about them, but if someone were to suddenly stop me on the street and say, Billy, what are all the sound change rules? Tell me. I'd probably come up with like 4 or 5 right off the bat, but then I'd have to think for a while to try to remember the others just because no one keeps them in mind. But if you were to give me any word in Korean and say, how do I read this? I can tell you exactly how to read this because I know all the sound change rules. So everyone in Korea knows all the sound change rules, but can't tell you a single sound change rule. So I'm actually going to cheat today too. I brought along a little cheat sheet. So we're going to be reviewing some of the sound change rules. And I have this cheat sheet to help me to remember which of the ones we have to explain today. But once you've learned these, once you know how it works, you're not going to need any sort of cheat sheet. In fact, I wish I had this as a beginner, but after I wasn't a beginner anymore, I no longer needed something like this because they all become intuitive. You get used to seeing the same types of things over and over again so much that you don't really need to study them. It's just helpful in the beginning when you're trying to learn them. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. And I'm open to questions about this or about anything you might have. Yes, 20 years. Nian and tigut sound. Like sometimes when people say they, it sounds like te. So that's not a sound change rule. That's actually just because the letters in Korean do not match up with English. So if you learn romanization, you're going to be especially disadvantaged when you're learning when you hear actual Korean. That's one of the reasons I really, really don't like romanization. I think it's fine in the very, very, very beginning when you're just kind of learning like this letter sounds like a D, this letter sounds like an N. That's fine. But anything beyond that, just anything at all, like if you start learning letters or sounds beyond that at all, it's going to be negatively affecting your Korean because ne is not N-E. D-te is not DE. There's nothing like that. If you think that, that's why they're going to sound similar, because the N sound in Korean is made with a softer sound. It's not made with ne. It's not. It's ne. You don't do that thing we do in English. It's just the very start of that sound, ne. So it sounds like a nian, sounds like the N, but only for like a microsecond. And hey as well is not day. It's not de. There's no lead up to it. It's just starting from that tongue position and lightly coming down. So ne, de are the exact same tongue position. If you don't add any vibrating sound in there, it gets to be that DE sound you're thinking. And if you do add a little bit of that, it's the N sound. So they get confusing if someone doesn't pronounce it really distinctly. You can hear ne as de, because you're not prepared for those sounds to be similar when they are. They're very similar. It's just the nian, the ne sound, has a little bit of that nasal sound in it, and that's it. Other than that, you're putting your tongue in the same spot for both. But it's not a sound change rule. I see Kai is using the alarm emoji. So when I see the alarm emoji, I'm going to know to check there's something made on PayPal. Thank you, Kai. Let me go ahead and check. I didn't even have my Gmail open. Kai, thank you. That's really nice of you. Some of you might think, oh, Billy just turns on his lives every week to get donations. You're kind of right. But actually, it's not just that. I also don't have to upload another video extra during the week if I do a live. So it's beneficial in two different ways. So what was I saying? Thank you so much, Kai. You say it wouldn't allow a message because I can't log in. But thanks again for all your time and explanations. Happy 20 years of Korean, and I can't wait for the next 150 years. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better myself. Wait, are you saying you want me to die in 150 years? That's really cruel. I don't want to live that long. Do you have any tips about pronouncing words like oyoyo? Yes. Practice. No. The tip I would give you for that is actually don't worry about it, because those sounds simply take a lot of practice to get. Even if you're saying the lir sound perfectly, your tongue simply cannot make motions easily until it's done it a lot. So you're just going to need time to it. If you want to like practice though, like you want some sort of a schedule, like, well, how can I get there eventually? Practice by breaking it apart. So anytime you see any sort of diphthong, that includes anything with this vowel or whatever. These also count. For example, if you're trying to practice this, yo, I can say it, yo, but if you're learning Korean, this is kind of hard. You might be like, yo, it's a little bit hard to make, right? At least if you're brand new. But this, I said these are diphthongs. They're actually diphthongs. You might think of them as single vowels, but actually these are not. This and this are actually a combination of two vowels. That's what any diphthong is. Like this one is a diphthong. It's a combination of these two vowels. Well, these are also a combination of what? Well, what direction is it? This direction. And what's this here? E. This one is a combination of E and O. Yo, yo, yo. That's all it is. So if you want to practice this. Leo, 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 leo. Practice it that way. And same for this. E. Ah, ya, ya, ya. All of these Y sounds in Korean, every single one, including this. I see a donation, but I'm just going to finish this up real quick. This one, let me give some more space. Oh, wow, this marker's I think this marker is dying already. It doesn't sound good and it's not erasing well anymore. Let me switch to red. Okay, so anything that has a Y in Korean, so that's like this vowel, this vowel, this vowel, this vowel, right? There are a couple others, like yeah, whatever. But anytime you see this vowel in Korean, these are actually diphthongs. So this is E and O. This is E and U, Again, this is E and ah, and this is E and O. So you can break it up like this and practice it slowly, and it's the same sound. And that might help you to kind of get the hang of how to say it slowly, but it'll take practice before you can say it quickly. Okay, I see I got a donation. I'm not ignoring you. I just wanted to finish that up first. Stephanie, thank you so much. Stephanie says you are amazing. It's very kind of you, Stephanie. I don't think I've noticed you in the chat before. Have you commented here before? Are you new? Okay, let me see if I missed any other messages. He hit me with my full name, Kylie. Okay, Billy, I've been on a Korean learning journey for a long time. Your videos have been the ones that have actually taught me. Oh, I see you did leave a message. I see that's Stephanie's message. In ways that makes sense. Nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome. 한인, 케이크를 먹으러 빵집 갔어요. 케이크를 먹으려고 빵집 갔어요. 케이크를 먹고 싶어서 먹으러, I see is the first one. 먹고 싶어서 빵집 갔어요. Those are not the same, although they can translate the same in English. I went to a bakery to eat cake. I went to a bakery to eat cake. And I went to a bakery because I wanted to eat cake. The third one is quite different. The first one, the form 으로. So if everyone's looking at the chat, there's a message by Han-in who's asking, basically your question is just this. What's the difference between this form 으로 and this form 으려, or 으려고, as it's usually seen as? And there's a lot of separate uses to them, but the really simple, what you're asking, the difference is, this one can only be used with verbs that end with 가다 and 오다, or going out, like going to work, coming home from work, like that. It's not used with any other verbs. It means in order to, but it's only used with 으로 가다, 으로 오다. So it means to go somewhere, 가다, or to come here, 오다, in order to do something. So like 먹으러 가다, to go to eat, right? 놀다, to play or hang out. 놀러 가다, to go hang out. So it's used more like idiomatic expressions, kind of. You'll see it with like 먹다, 먹으러 가다, to go eat, or like 먹으러 오다, to come here to eat. 놀러 가다, to go play, or come, or like this. 보러 가다. It has some specific verbs that'll commonly get used with, but it's not that versatile because it's only used with motion verbs. This one, however, has a different meaning. It doesn't actually mean in order to, although it translates that way. It means similar to 싶어서. It similarly has a meaning of wanting to or intending to. So I want to go, in this case, in your example, I want to go eat cake. I'm going to eat cake, so I went to the bakery. That's what it means. So it has the same translation in English, in order to, but this one actually does mean in order to. This one means more like wanting to or intending to do that. I did this. So this is the one that's going to have more usage, but if you want to say I went to the bakery to eat cake, they all work, just they have all different nuances. But they're all fine. Billy, I take your beginner course, but I'm stuck at word conjugation. What do you mean word conjugation? What is a word conjugation? Maria says, do sound change rules apply only within a word or even when linking words? Yes, they apply whenever you're linking words together because, as I'll explain, we'll do some sound change rules review today. As I'll explain, these are mostly intuitive. So except for like, that one's kind of not intuitive, I guess. But although we do the same thing. There's a couple I can see on here which aren't super intuitive, but they all make sense. All of these come from the way that people would naturally say them anyway. None of these are like, they had a meeting and said, you know, let's create these sound change rules for Korean to make it easier to say or anything like that. Nothing like that happened. It's just, these are what naturally evolved from pronouncing the words. So it happens between words as well. If you say a word right after another word, but you don't leave a gap to breathe, then these rules will also apply. Just because that's naturally, like I said, that's how all of these rules came to be in the first place. So I'll start with a short review in like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes or so. Any other questions before we get started? I'm new to watching your course, says Stephanie. I've actually seen you around for quite some time, but never thought I'd be able to learn from YouTube. Nice. I was wrong. I dove into your courses after you did the AT series. Nice. Glad to see I got some new subscribers from the AT series. That was a fun series. I'm looking now at the next group that I'm going to be reviewing, and I'm not going to start it right now because I'm working on a current course that I'll be releasing the end of May. But when I come back from Korea, so probably sometime around September, I'm looking to release another, September, October, I'm looking to release another K-pop analysis series. And I have no clue who that group will be, but at that time, I'm going to be making a post on my Patreon page, so stay tuned for that. And I'll let my Patreon members pick which ones we're going to be doing it from. Okay. Do you have any tips on how to use the word 없이? Without use it after a noun. So like without that. But it's an adverb. So you would have to know how to use an adverb for the tip to make sense. But anything you're doing without something is 없이. In the song I Don't Love You by Urban Zakapa, I'm sorry if that's a Korean group, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with groups. There's a lyric that goes, 널 사랑하지 않아. 널. Why is it pronounced as 널? Why is 널 pronounced as 널? Is that your question? Or, so, 널 is simply 너를. You with the object marker on it. It's not anything special. I don't want to write that in red. Let me write it in green. 너를 becomes 널. Same thing. Sorry, you can't really see that well. I don't like this pen, but I feel bad just throwing away a perfectly fine working pen. This is like, if I can angle this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, just trying to get rid of the reflection. A girl group. Okay. Intro to conjugation. Oh yeah, Mohammed, check out my cheat sheets that I made. I'll actually link those in chat again. Cheat sheets right there. In fact, I made more cheat sheets since this video came out, and you can find them linked in the description for that. I have a total of 12, but the first set of 6 cheat sheets that I made has a cheat sheet all about the conjugation rules. So after you watch that lesson and you still feel a little bit like confused, or you want some help with it, get the cheat sheet. It has all of the rules in that video and actually a couple extras. So yeah, that's all you have to do. And same with the sound change rules as well. The sound change and conjugation, I know, are really big hurdles for beginners, but they all fit nicely on one sheet. So that's what we're going to be reviewing today as well. And these are also completely free. So this is not, I'm not selling anything for this. You can download them completely free right now. All of them, there are 12. Will you blog your Korean trip? I'm not going to be blogging. I don't blog, but I will be filming videos while I'm there. Lots of videos. I haven't decided what videos to film yet, though. I have a bunch of ideas that I'm writing, and I'm trying to finish up a course before I go to Korea. So hopefully I can start uploading that like a week before I go to Korea. But I have a new course coming out, which is going to be sentence connectors. It has like over 250 sentence connect. It's ridiculous. It has like every single sentence connector you can imagine, and then another 200. The lesson about how to say because is so ridiculously big. Like, I'm just worried it's gonna like overwhelm people with how much information's in the course. But hopefully you like it. Need some more. Yeah, that's better. I had a really big lunch, and I think I needed some more water. It's a bit hard to see, but it looks good with, okay, well, I'm not going to be using the green too much. I'm not a big fan of that green marker. Okay, any other questions before we start? The singer pronounced it more like noi than it wasn't no. If they said no, it sounded like you say no I. It probably was this word. Noi. Did they say noi? Nor would not sound like noi. But I'd have to hear the song. It could be you're mishearing it or someone said something over it while they're talking. But this is a different word. Noi. Do we need a new marker fund? Not yet. I have a bunch of markers right now that I'm slowly using, but I think next time I'm going to be just buying the refillable markers, like the legitimate giant markers that you refill. I have them in my wish list already to buy, but I'm just going to wait until after I use all these. Kenneth says, Billy, I just Googled and the lyric is definitely written no. Okay, well, they wouldn't be saying is noi because that would be a different word. You could say it like no. You could do like that. You could extend it, but it would have to end where your tongue touches the top of your mouth to make that lir sound, or else it's not the lir. But to be fair, there are songs I've heard where the singers purposely pronounce things. They stretch them and pronounce them wrong, but Nor is noi would not be an example of that. That would just be a wrong thing. So I'd have to hear the song. If you have a clip of where you hear it, post it in my Discord and I can check it out. But yeah, I can guarantee you they're not going to say noi if it's supposed to be dor. Because noi it would sound like a different word, which also can mean you, but it's you plural. Galva's asking, when Koreans say delicious, I hear 맛있다, but I learned in a course it is 맛있어요. Let me ask Galva. No offense, but what course are you using that's confusing you that bad? Those are totally different things. So 맛있다 it can be two things. One is it's the unconjugated dictionary form, like what you would search for a word in the dictionary, which is not used in conversation. But with that type of verb, which is known as a descriptive verb, it can also be 맛있다 when you're using what's called plain form. If it's conjugated into the 요 form, you would hear 맛있어요, and it's in the plain form, you'd hear 맛있다. Both of them are correct. They are both correct to say, but they have totally different nuances and different situations you'd use them and different amounts of politeness. One of them is just casual toward yourself. The other one would be semi-polite toward another person. I have a full beginner course. I'm going to link in the chat. Let's find that here. Because if I were to answer this question fully, it actually requires going back and learning how verbs work and stuff like that. But check out the free course I'm going to link in the chat. There you go. It just went up. And you can start there. The first lessons are just about the alphabet, so you might be able to skip those if you already know it. But then beyond that, it should help answer your question a little bit better. Mobile says, I was wondering if you could explain in more detail what I mean to slightly tense your mouth when you pronounce double consonants. There isn't a way to explain it because it's not something that we do in English consciously. But I've mentioned this before, but if you want to practice the double consonants, you practice them by putting a syllable in front of them because you can hear the tense when there's something before it. So I've said this before, but I'll really quickly repeat it again. If you wanted to practice, like, for example, ka, everyone can say ka, right? You can also say ka. This is the strong consonant. It just has more air, but it's the exact same sound, ka. But not everyone can first try say ka because it has a stressed sound. So what does that mean? Well, it just means it's a stressed sound. It's like, how do you dribble a basketball? You have to just practice. I can tell you, well, you move your hand like this and let go and wait till it comes back and hits your hand and then move. It's something you just have to practice, but how do you practice it? Well, stick a sound in front of it. I just like sticking ah or o or something like that. Just stick a syllable in front of it and then put that sound you're trying to practice. In this case, these two sounds. The normal one, ah, ga. Everyone can say that fine. But this one, I guarantee you could say this one. Ah, ga. because you can hear it when it's after a sound. It's hard to hear ga, ka. It's hard to hear how they're different when you're a beginner, but you can definitely hear akka because you hear it pause, right? Like it sounds like this. It sounds like this, right? It sounds like the first sound has a K kind of, or G at the end of it when you say this, akka, right? That's the stressed sound. And that stressed thing is something you just have to train to be able to do it. But at least if you practice it like this, you could hear it. So anytime you're trying to practice a sound, and this works for all of the double consonants, I'm just using this one. It also works for, you know, higa and here. Ah, da. This is not a word, so don't learn this. Ah, da, atta. It sounds kind of like someone was saying atta, right? Atta. Again, this is not a word. Don't at me. But yeah, that's what I mean. But in order to actually get good at it, because what you're doing is you're stressing your mouth to have a little pause right before you say it. And that pause is very short when you normally say ta. Very short before you say it. But that's what it is. And you have to do it a lot and you hear it a lot and then you kind of get used to how you can do it yourself. We do those types of sounds here and there in English, but we don't consciously ever make them. The only double consonant I mastered is tiet and the double one. Da. Yeah. Would natives notice if I messed up the double consonant? Would they correct you, or is it a huge deal to pronounce it correctly? They'll notice it. they'll notice it. But they're not going to really correct you because they'll understand what you're trying to say. But you can easily say a different word if the context is not very clear, it'll be confusing if you use the wrong one. Like, try to think of something. So, if you were asking for bread, which is bang, and you just randomly went up to someone and said, "방이 어디 있어요?" Like, say you want to buy bread, and you don't know how to say, "I want to buy bread." You know where the bakery is. You don't know that. You just want to say, "방이 어디 있어요?" And you say, "방이 어디 있어요?" They're going to think you said room, because 방 means room. Everyone would think 방이 어디 있어요 is where's my room? So if you're walking around like a tourist and you go up to someone, you ask where your room is, they're going to be like, the hotel's over there. I don't know. If you say bang, I mean, they're still going to be confused. Like, why are you asking me? Like, why are you asking me where's bread? But maybe there's a famous bakery, right? And you're like, there's some 유명한 빵이 있어요. 여기 이 주변에 유명한 빵집 있어요. There's some famous bread. There's some famous bakery in this area. If there's a famous bakery in the area and you're asking where the bread is versus where the room is. So that's a situation where there's no context. It would be confusing. They wouldn't know what you're talking about. If, however, they see you holding a piece of bread in your hand and you're eating it and you say, "빵이 맛있어요," they're gonna know you actually said this. They're not gonna think, "My God, he's eating a room and he likes it." They're gonna know you said this. So the only issues arrive when you're not using enough context. And there are a lot of situations where you wouldn't have enough context. So yes, you do need to focus on this, but in clear context, no one's going to misunderstand you. Okay, we're going to get, 진짜 has both ta and ta. Yeah, that's right. Stop gatekeeping. Where is my room? Well, your room is down the street at Hongdae, and it's up the second floor, and there's no elevator. Actually, it's the fifth floor. I was kidding. Fifth floor, no elevator, and you get to your room and the water doesn't come out. That's where your room is. But it was really cheap and it had great pictures on Airbnb, and you totally believed that was your room. Okay. So we're going to be reviewing batchim. Batchim is basically, if you have a syllable, let's just make up a syllable. Kang, river. Batchim is just the bottom syllables on any syllable. And that's what Korean teachers usually refer to this as batchim rules, but it's not really batchim rules only. because there's other things you have to consider about it. But yeah, that generally it's called batchim. Batchim means support. It comes from the verb batchida, which is to support, to hold up. So batchim literally means like supports. So that's why they're called that. Hey, Lexica. Lexica, wait a minute. You can't leave? Wait, before I misspell your name, you can't leave? Lexica says, I have to miss today's stream, but didn't want to miss minute 7. Do you have a timer set on your phone at repeat every hour at minute 7? Thank you, Lexica. Okay, so that's batchim. That's basically why they call it batchim. So these are what I think it's better just to call them sound change rules, because that encompasses how it works. It's not just about, only about looking at the bottom consonant when you're reading a syllable. It's about looking at the entire syllable. There are sometimes you have to look at the bottom syllable. Sometimes you look at the top syllable in the next syllable that comes after it. So the most basic sound change rules is simply to keep in mind that if you have a sound that meets another sound, sometimes these sounds interact with each other in mostly obvious ways. I'll say that. Now, for a lesson, to compare this with English, I do this example sometimes. How would you say this? Like, just say it out loud to yourself. Do you say, nice to meet you? No. You only say that if you're like reading it for something official or whatever. Nice to meet you. We don't say that. We say nice to meet you, right? The T and the Y makes like a CH sound. Why does it do that? Why does T and Y make a CH sound? Well, we're not going to be talking about English today, but just think about it for a second. Meet, because if you say the you, it gets kind of softer, right? It's easier to say it like chew than meet you, right? So nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So we have these in English too, but nobody's going out there thinking about it and making a cheat sheet for sound change rules in English, right? Because in English, they make no sense sometimes. It's just however we say the word next to whatever the next word it is that we say, and then whatever is easiest to say. Fortunately, with Korean, we have sound change rules because the words are always supposed to be pronounced in the same way. So you can make a set of rules to help you remember how to read them. The most basic rule is about this consonant, the empty consonant, which is, this consonant is known as iung. Iung is the name of this one, just the empty consonant. So anytime you have a word that ends with any sound, any consonant, doesn't matter, whatever consonant, and the next syllable starts with this consonant, which has no sound, well, this sound goes right through it, right? That should make sense. I mean, this happens all the time. I'm going to be borrowing some examples from my sound change rules cheat sheet, so if you want to follow along, you can get this. Other ones I might just make up along the way. So really quick, let's get the word. It's not this. Let's get to read. The normal verb for to read is ikta. Now we're going to be talking about this in a little bit too, but the normal word for this is the normal verb for to read something. Well, if you conjugate it, you'll see this as one of the possible conjugations. 읽어요. Well, what's going on here? 읽어, right? It just goes right through because it's empty. 읽어요. So you get 읽어요. You can read this as 읽어요, and you are 100% correct. That's how it's read. You don't say 읽어요, right? 읽어요. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Why would you make things harder for yourself? 읽어요. So that's the most basic rule. Anytime there's any sound before that empty consonant, it just flows right through as if it didn't exist. See how dedicated we are to paying you. I appreciate it. Iung is my favorite letter. You have a favorite letter? Mochi is saying, doesn't that mean NG? It's only NG when it's not at the start of the syllable. So it's either at the start or it's at the end because it's a consonant. If it's at the end of a syllable, it makes a NG sound like ung. If it's at the beginning of a word or beginning of a sound, it makes no sound. So this one, therefore, is yo, right? It's not yo, it's just yo. You basically just read this, yo. But you can't have a syllable without at least one vowel and one consonant. So you have to add something there. So your consonant becomes the blank consonant, which is just nothing. So that's how this works. That's the first rule. I'm just going to give you one more example of that. I'm sure you already know this one, unless you just started learning Korean today. You know the word 맛이 있어요. 맛이 있어요. Well, how would you read this? 맛이, right? 맛이. That's it. Now, this is not a sound change rule per se at all, because this is just how this letter is read. But anytime you have this letter, the S letter, before any vowel that includes this vowel, so any vowel that includes this, that also includes the diphthongs that are like ya or whatever like that, because those have this in it. Anytime you have this E sound, that makes not si. You don't say ma-si, it's ma-shi. So this becomes SH sound whenever it's before any sort of E vowel. And that's not a sound change rule. That's just because this was never an S to begin with. It was a s. So you get she naturally before any sort of sound like this. Hey, Christopher. Wow, I just saw a red flash on my screen. That means big donation. Christopher, I don't think I've seen you here before, have I? Are you new? Wow. I found your channel 3 years ago. Oh, okay. And I'm constantly learning. I love your cheat sheets and aspire to speak at your level of fluency. Well, 3 years, if you've been living in Korea, I'm guessing you're not living in Korean. If you were living in Korea, you might be fluent already if you're using it a lot. But if you're not, don't worry, you will get there. The first time my wife, who's Korean, heard you without seeing, she thought you were a native. Wow. 저는 계속해서 한국어를 공부할 거야. Oh, nice. You already have some Korean level. I can tell from your sentence. Nice. Thank you so much, Christopher. Hold on. I kind of smushed your donation amount because I didn't have space. Let me rewrite it. Your French tutor just joined. Nice. Is that the same rule as 닭 and 닭고기? No, this is not, because there is no empty consonant in the word 닭고기. First time watching a stream. Oh, nice. Welcome. Yeah, I try to do these every week, except when I'm in Korea. So June, July, you won't see these. But whenever I'm in the US, I always do these. Try to do these once a week now. Okay. So that's the very first rule. Again, that should be pretty basic. The next rule actually has to do with what someone just asked with the word 닭. So this is the word 닭 for chicken. Listen to how I say it. 닭, 닭, 닭. Do you hear this letter? No. Most of the time, not 100%, but most of the time, whenever you see a double consonant at the bottom and one of them is this letter, the lir, I'm not going to say L because it's not an L or an R, the lir will not be pronounced. Most of the time. There are some exceptions to that. The most common exception you're going to see for that is 여덟. 여덟 is the number 8. 일곱, 여덟. This one is said, you don't even hear the P. The only time you hear the P is if it's, again, what if we stick the subject marker after the number 8? Then you get 여덟 B, right? 여덟 B. You'd get 여덟 B. Now, you're not going to write it this way ever. Sound change rules are only how you pronounce, not how you write. If people wrote the way that they spoke, it would be so confusing. If you saw this written on a paper, you wouldn't even know it's 여덟 with E until you read it out loud and thought about it in context. So they don't write words any differently. They just say them differently to make it easier. So anyway, this one though is 여덟. So you hear only that. Why did I write that backward? You know what I'm talking about. You only hear the lir letter, and that's it. Most of the time though, including in the word 닭, you only hear whatever other letter is there. The exception again is if there's something that allows you to hear it, you'll hear it. So what else could allow you to hear that sound? For example, in our for tak or for yodar, what could allow you to hear that letter that becomes silent? Tak. Well, it's just tak. Well, if you were to say this, what would you get? How would you read this? I'm just going to tell you. You would get 달기. Although some people might say tagi because Koreans are funny and playful and they love not really caring about sound change rules because no one does. But sound change rules, again, as I said, were only made to make pronunciation more simple. They were never like designed and followed as rules. So you might hear Koreans who they're not really aware of what they're doing. They hear tak and they hear the subject marker and they'll say, tagi. It's fine to say, but just know it's incorrect. It would be 달기. Even if you might not hear it always that way. Okay, anyway, that's a different lesson that we could talk about for which sound change rules do people not follow and when, but not for today. So there, you can hear it now. But there's another really common way that you can hear sounds when it is followed by something that it would normally interact with, which is our next, actually not the next rule. I'm going to skip ahead. This is the most common sound change rule you're going to encounter besides the one about just reading sounds through the empty letter. This is the most common actual sound change rule. That is whenever you have a bottom consonant, that has one of these base consonants. So to make it really simple, I'm going to say not a nasal sound and not the empty sound, or this, which actually comes from the empty sound originally. So not a nasal sound, which is this letter, mium and nian, and not the empty sound, which is that, and then not the lir. Every other consonant, because these ones have their own rules. That's why I'm writing these. If you don't want to memorize, like this rule doesn't apply to these, you don't have to write it down. Just if you remember the other rules, these already have their own things that happen to them, so you don't have to worry about this. But for general consonants, if you have one consonant that can become a double consonant, if it has a double consonant version, which is going to be these five, right? These five have a double consonant version. If it's one of these, it is. Then whenever it meets any other consonant, you're going to pronounce it like a double consonant. So whenever it can become a double consonant, whenever it can become stressed, it will if it's before another consonant. So that means 닭, 고기, 닭, 고기, 닭, 고기. You get the double sound. So let me rewrite these ones. I'll give you another couple examples. This rule might seem a bit complicated if you're hearing it for the very first time, but I guarantee you this is super simple because try to say this sound. Just try it. Pretend you don't know sound change rules if you do. How would you say, this is the word for to close. I'm not going to say it. How would you say this? Just read it, read one syllable, then read the next syllable, and try to say it yourself. Let's do it together. 탓, right? This is the D, T sound, whatever. So 탓, 파, right? 탓, 파, 탓, 파. Wait, what's happening? What's happening with my voice? Why is it tensing by itself? 탔다, 탔다. It has to tense. You cannot not apply this rule. So I just gave you like all of these, like, oh, it doesn't happen with this and doesn't happen. Blah, 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 blah. You don't need to know that because this rule naturally will, except for some exceptions, which we'll talk about later, this rule will always naturally happen. So whether you want to or not, if you are saying the syllables correctly, this rule happens by itself. Tatta. So what you get is tatta, whether you like it or not. You can't say ta 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 ta. You don't stop after saying a syllable. You keep going. So do it with the same breath, tatta. You get that sound. You get tatta, whether you like it or not. This rule is so common. I mean, be aware of it, but I would never stress about this one. Like, cross it off your list of things to study. If you have a bunch of notes or whatever, you don't really need to worry about this one. There are a lot of places here. I mean, you can practice it just to see where it happens. Here, let's try another one. This is one of these consonants, right? That means it has a double version. This one too, it has a double version. So I should say, actually, before I tell you where it happens, say this yourself and then tell me, where does it happen? Does it happen on this syllable where we change it to a double? Or does it happen on this one where we change it to a double? Like, does it become this? Or does it become this? Or does it become, oops, or does it become this? Which one of these three is it? A, B, or C? Think about it. Say it yourself, one syllable at a time. I don't even need to teach you this because it's so obvious when you're saying the letters. It's going to happen by itself. Do we get pick, po, 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 pick, po? We get this one. We get C. I mean, this one, I don't really know how you'd say that anyway, but this one is not. It's not pick, po, it's pick, po. It affects the sound it comes after because your voice is like stressing in order to switch to that other sound, as long as you're saying it as part of the same breath. If you stop and pause, you can clearly say pek, po, right? But if you're saying it together, it always will naturally become pek, po, whether you like it or not. Let's do one more, then I'll move on. Again, this is the most simple sound change rule, so you probably, if you know any sound change rules already, this might be the one you know. If you don't, though, well, it's an honor to introduce you to this sound change rule. Okay, one more. Let's see. Let's do this one. Okay. Actually, let's not do that. I'm trying to find a simple one that we haven't done already. Oh, okay, we can do this. Actually, we haven't done that rule. I can't do that one. Never mind. Okay, okay, I got one. Okay. Sorry, it's the same letter, but it's the same concept. Okay, this is the word for noodles. Kuk su. Kuk su. Noodles. Kuk su. Kuk su. Kuk su. Kuk su. Notice how it's stressed. Kuk su. You get this sound by itself. Kuk su. That's it. And again, it works for all of the, I've only shown you ones with this letter and this letter so far. Oh wait, I also showed you this one. And wait, I did show you the pekpo. You kind of, okay, there's one more I would give you for this, but it involves something we haven't done. We're going to do next. This is the word for like to recite. It's not a common word. You don't really need this yet. Like to recite a passage or something. Upjorida. Up. This one's up because again, remember it has this letter. You're not going to really read it most of the time. So up, jorida, up, jorida, up, jorida, up, jorida. All of these are intuitive. Okay, I'm not going to spend any more time on this one, but again, this rule happens whether you like it or not. And a tip for all these sound change rules, it applies to them. Anytime you're saying a word and you want to practice to how to say it naturally, say it in one breath. Don't say one syllable at a time. Because if you say it in one breath, you're saying it, at a regular pace, like duh, duh, duh. You're not saying it way too slow. As long as you're saying it in one breath, you're going to naturally do almost every single one of these sound change rules, whether you like it or not, because it's really hard to not do them. There's one more sound change rule that's really, really basic that I didn't talk about. And that's anytime a word ends or any syllable ends in a sound that you cannot pronounce without adding in a vowel. So I'll give you an example. This is the word for day. The word for night is this. Just pam. Pam is for night. But the word for day is this. How do you read this? Now, I'm sure you already know, most of you already know because you've learned the alphabet, but how would you read this one? Say if you don't know the alphabet that well. You can't, actually, because what is this one? This is like the J letter, right? You can't say naj because you're adding in a vowel. You're adding in like vibration that doesn't exist there. You can't say naj because this sound is not j, right? When you say the word, which everyone knows, chincha, right? It's not chincha. It is just chincha. It doesn't have a sound by itself. It's chi, but it doesn't have a sound by itself, right? You cannot read this one by itself. So whenever you get a syllable or a word that ends with a letter, a consonant specifically, that you can't read, there's an easy way to do it. You simplify it into, I'll give you an example. If it's a double consonant, like let's say this one, pak. This is a real word. This means outside, but you can't say pak. You can't like tense inside of a word, so it just becomes its single version. You read this as pak, exactly like pak. Not almost, but exactly like pak. So anytime there's a double consonant at the end of a syllable or a word, you just read it like its simple version. Anytime you have a strong consonant at the end of a word, like let's see, okay, the word for leaf. This is the word for leaf. Well, it's a strong consonant. You can't say, you can't do that, even though this is a strong consonant. This also becomes its regular version. So you read this as that. This is all you have to do. It's pretty simple, huh? So you read this as ip, you read this as pak. Anytime there is a double or a strong syllable at the end of a consonant, it just gets read as its single version, its basic version. Also, if there is any other consonant that can't be read at the end of a word. So I'll give you some examples. This will be like the shiot or like the double shiot. This one, right? This one, this one, this one. Actually, this would already be, that one's easy because you already know what that would be. That would just be the regular T. But these ones though, this one you could say, well, it could be read as this, right? But then how do you read this? How do you could say, oh, this one's read as this, but how do you read this, right? How do you read these letters? Well, there's an easy answer to that. These ones don't have ways to read them. Like if I have this letter, how do you say nas? You can't say nas because again, this is not a s sound. It's just the concept of that S letter. You can't say nas. You can't say that. The same goes with this. You can't say naz, and you can't say with an H sound either. You can't go nah. Even though this is used, this is a real syllable. You'll see it for like to be born or to give birth to. They use the verb nata. This one, anytime you have these letters that don't have a double or a strong version that can be simplified and read, you just read them like this. All of them. With the D sound, not. So if you have this word, it's read as not. If you have this word, it's read as not. If you have this word, it's read as not. If you have this word, it's read as not. If you have this word, it's read as not. And believe it or not, all of these are legitimate consonants you can see in Korean. All of these would be read as not. You can just write down this, this, and this. And anytime you get, it simplifies to these, you just read it as this. Can we take a break for just a second? If lir is at the front, does it mean R? When it's at the back, does it become L? Nope. I dislike that sort of explanation because it's never an R nor it is an L. The sound of the letter can be closer to what you would perceive as an L when it's at the front of a word and more sound like an R when it's toward the middle or the end of a word. Yes, because what you're thinking of it's sounding like, but it never changes. It's always the same way you produce it. It's made by the tongue in the position that you would say the D, believe it or not, D as in dog, D in English, but you say an L instead from that spot though. That's how you say the lir letter. And when you finish the word, it also goes back to that same spot. So it can sound a little bit more like an L or an R depending on where it is in the word, but it doesn't change at all. It's always the same spot you're tapping. Like in the middle of a word, sarang, you might think, oh, that sounds more like an R, sarang, because it tapped. Whereas 라면, it sounds like more fluid. So oh, that sounds more like an L, but it's the same thing. Just when it's like that tap or when it finishes, your ear might perceive it as if it didn't touch. So you might think it sounds more like an R, but don't do that to yourself. It's not changing. Okay. So those are the most basic things, but there are a lot of specific rules we're going to also be talking about. But all of the other rules we're going to be talking about are just as intuitive as the ones we just did. So let's do the next one. The next one has to do with this letter. Now, this letter is often taught as being the H sound, right? Like 합니다. We'll talk about this sound change rule too in a second. 합니다. Or like 해요. Or like 사랑해요, right? 사랑해. You think of it as the H sound. It is never H. It is not, sorry, it's not an H sound. It is just extra air. This actually, if it helps you to remember that, what is this? This is essentially the strong consonant version of this, if you want to think of it like that. This is the empty letter, right? Not the NG version. The NG version actually originally in Korean looked different. So nowadays when it's at the beginning or at the end, it's the same. Originally though, it was written a little bit differently. It would have like a dot, kind of like a line up here. But nowadays they're written the same way. This thing, eraser, keeps falling. It is actually the strong consonant version of the empty sound. This thing just makes it extra air. That's all a strong consonant means, is the exact same sound with more air. So what is this sound? Well, absolutely nothing. So what is this sound plus extra air? Well, you just get extra air. That's it. You only hear this extra air when it's at the start of a sound. So the verb 하다, you hear that sound and it sounds like an H, right? 하다, 하세요, 하세요, 합니다, 해요. You hear it. When it's in the middle of a word, you do not hear that extra air because it just gets swallowed up in the sound. Like when people say, I don't have any space, so sorry about this is messy, but you get the idea. 감사합니다, right? They don't say 감사합니다. They say 감사. It already has the air going out. You don't even hear this letter anymore. 감사합니다 is what you get because all it was is extra air. You only hear this at the start of a new sound or a new word. That's the only time you're going to hear this ever. In a word, it always, I won't say always because sometimes there are some words where you might say, where it's like kind of said separately. Like if it comes after a vowel, then it can sometimes sound, you still hear it again. But all it is extra air. It's not an H sound. It's not ha. It's not that. It's just, that's it. 감사합니다. You don't hear 감사합니다. It's just 감사합니다. Okay, so, and the same goes with all strong consonants. Why am I telling you this again? You might have heard this before. Because it has to do with one of the most common sound change rules that is with this letter. And I see I have a donation. Phantom Ray. I keep dropping stuff. I need a secondary, like a bin to catch the stuff that falls from the first bin where I have all of my markers. Phantom Ray, thank you. Once again, want to show my appreciation for everything you do. Thank you so much for all the teaching and resources you put out for everyone. Thank you. Okay, so as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by that donation. So this letter here is, again, it's all it is extra air. I swear to you, that's all it is. Because of that, well, what happens when we have something like this? Let's do the verb 좋다, I just said it. To be good is, let's conjugate it though first, and then we'll go back to this in a second. So how do we conjugate to be good? Well, you can say 좋아요, right? This letter, again, sounds flow right through it. So let's do the first step. So we know already that this is going to be pronounced as like this. 좋아요, right? Said slowly. 좋아요. Again, you don't hear it because it's just extra air. So all you get is 좋아요, 좋아요. So even though it's there, you don't get it because it is just extra air. So all you hear when someone conjugates this verb to be good is this. 좋아요, 좋아요. You don't even hear 좋아. I'm not doing 좋아. I'm doing 좋아요. It's not there. It just disappears. I'm not softening it. It's just gone because it is already just extra air. So, but what about this? What happens to this? Can you, before I tell you what the rule is, can you guess, how would you say this? If you don't already know, just say the first syllable. Again, how would you even pronounce this though in the first place? Remember, again, I said it's kind of like, normally if you were just reading this sound by itself, just this, it would be pronounced as that. Don't say that though. It kind of sounds close to a swear. But we don't need to do that because this letter actually can interact with other letters because I said it's extra air. So do this. 조, add extra air. 좋다, 좋다, 좋다. You get this extra air flows and you get that. A strong consonant. 좋다, 좋다. This is a strong consonant, believe it or not. It acts like a strong consonant. Well, or I should say it makes others strong consonants because it gives them air. And that is the only difference between the regular consonants and their strong versions. This one doesn't have a strong version, although it does have a double version. This. We'll talk about that in a second though. But these ones, all they are is the regular consonants. You can't barely kind of see this one. I'll finish it there. All these are the same regular ones with extra air. So if you have ka, for example, if you add more air, ka, you get ka, ta, ta, ha, pa, ta, ta. It's just more air. So yes, it's a sound change rule that when this comes before any of these regular versions, it makes them into their stronger versions because, not by magic, but just because it adds more air. And this one also, the regular 시옷 will actually become a double. There is no strong 시옷, but it'll just become a double consonant. That's all you really need to know. I'll give you some examples of that. I just want to make sure every rule that I explain, I'm giving you like the understanding of why, because yeah, you do need to memorize these, but really they're just going to become intuitive and then you can kind of forget that you ever learned them. So let's say you ate rice. Let's rewrite that. Oh my goodness, this marker keeps falling off. I am getting tired of this marker. Okay. Let's say you ate rice, 밥, 하고, and kimchi. Wait a minute. This one, before I had the hiet coming, the H letter coming before the sound, but here, hiet comes after. Well, what would happen if you added this to the extra air? Well, let's try it. 밥, 하고, 밥하고, 밥하고. You end up with the same result. Whether this comes before or after a sound, it makes that sound into a strong consonant because it naturally would anyway. If we said, Like, for example, we had the other example where it came at the bottom and then something else came after. Let's just pretend it was this. Pa, pa. You get the same thing, whether it's before, like we had 좋다 before. 좋다. It's the same thing. 밥하고. So you get 파. Sorry, it's messy, but you get the idea. 파고, 밥하고 김치. 밥하고 김치를 먹었어요. I ate rice and kimchi. 밥하고. 밥하고. You wouldn't say 밥하고, 밥하고. You wouldn't say 밥하고 unless you're like stopping. 밥하고, because it's just air. Okay. So again, anytime that H letter comes before or after a consonant, it adds extra air to it. So you get a strong consonant, or in the case of the S letter, a double consonant. Okay. There are several rules though with the next letter we're going to be doing. That's the lir. This letter's name is lir. And it's the L or R, as you might want to call it. It's actually neither. This one has a few specific rules. This one actually has 5 rules associated with it. I'm going to wait a second though and just check the chat. Yeah, ta. Stephanie, yeah, it's frustrating when this one erases really well, but the magnet for it is like, it's like 1/4 of a millimeter thick. You can't even see it. It's on the edge. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. It'll kind of stick, but it falls off at like the slightest extra air. Yeah, it's annoying. Okay, this letter, first of all, if this meets another letter that has, actually, well, let's just do it. I'll just show you. You probably have seen this sort of thing before. 할 거야. 할 거야. Like, I'm going to do it. Or maybe you might know the grammar form. 할 게요. Like, I will do it. Let's try this one. Well, I want to see what you get. 할 거야. 할 거야. 할 거야. You could say 할 거야, right? 할 거야. 할 거야. This one's less intuitive, but this letter tends to make, not every time, but most of the time, usually, when you have this letter before one of those consonants that has a double version, these ones again, it tends to change them into double consonants. So you don't get 할 거야, you get 할 거야 when you read it. You don't get 할게요, you get 할게요. 할게요. In fact, a lot of people just write 할게 like this, even though it's wrong, but it's always pronounced as 게요. This one you simply have to memorize that most of the time, again, it's not always. There are some common exceptions when it doesn't happen, but most of the time, when this letter is before, I should say it has to come before one of these letters that has a double version, it tends to make that letter double. So it tends to kind of do what other times you see, like when words are stuck together and it becomes a double consonant, like what we saw before with words like, 백보 and all that, 탔다. It kind of does the same thing. So it's the same as that most of the time. The thing is, though, you can't really tell when it doesn't unless you learn those words separately. But most of the time it does, so it's safe to just learn it as included in that other rule that we did before. So just assume that this also does the same thing that we saw. Let me give you an example where it doesn't, though. Foreign words. If you see a foreign word written with this and it comes before another letter, it's more common to just not. If it's like a loan word from another language, like an English word. In this case, I think it's a Dutch word or German word. The word why am I writing this? Why did I do it twice? Arbeit is like, I think it's German for Arbeit, for a part-time job. They say Arbeit. Or shortened, they say Alba. They don't say Alpa. There actually is a Korean expression, Alpa, but that's a different grammar form. But Alba is a part-time job, and it is just read as it is spelled, Alba. So with a lot of loan words, it doesn't apply. Also, there are some Korean words where it doesn't apply too. The word for face is 얼굴. It's not 얼굴. It's not 얼굴 like that. It's just 얼굴, as it is written, 얼굴. So there are some cases when it doesn't. But if you just keep that in mind, like foreign word, it probably won't. 얼굴 for face is like the most common one I can think of where it also doesn't. Other than that, you can include this in the other rule of when the letter comes before a word that has a double consonant version, it'll become that double consonant version. So yeah, other times it does. Let's do another one. Let's see. 일자리, 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 일자리. This is the word for railroad. You'll see this a lot in Korea. 철도. It's not 철도, it's 철도. 철도. This one, again, it's less intuitive because when you say these words, 철도, it's fine. You can easily say 철도 one after the other. So this one, you just have to memorize that it's an exception, that it also applies to this letter. And again, not every time, but most of the time. I don't know what percentage it'll be. I'll just say it's like 99%. Although the word 얼굴 is fairly common. Okay, next rule. If this letter comes after this letter, or including any of these versions, which these ones simplify to it, but if it ever comes after this letter, so if you have a word that ends with this letter and it comes before this letter, so you have these two sounds together, what happens is that this letter becomes pronounced as this, and this one becomes pronounced as a mium, an M and an N. So this seems a little bit complicated. So let me explain it to you. Doesn't really seem, oh, actually, I'll leave that up. Doesn't really seem very intuitive, but let's explain it. It might seem okay. Okay, how would you say this one? This is actually one of the rules that will automatically happen, believe it or not. But let's look at how. Okay, this word means 10 li, which is like an old distance measurement that they no longer use in Korea. They also had a different amount for it in China, so it's not the same amount as they used over there. 10 li. 10 li. Try saying this faster, like an actual word. And I want you to write in the chat, if you don't know sound change rule, if you don't know how to say this, if you already do know how to say this, don't write it, don't spoil it. But if you don't already know, I want you to say this out loud, try to say it together and tell me what it kind of sounds like you're saying. Again, you don't have to look at this. I just want to know what you kind of get. I'm curious what you get normally. Like write down what does it sound like when you say them together. Billy has 3 books to learn Korean. I actually have 10 books. Believe it or not. And I'm working on although one of them was published through Talk to Me in Korean, I have my own 10th self-published book coming out next month, the end of next month. Melanie Sheep says, I watch your videos. I wish to be fluent as you one day. You don't need to worry about that. I don't consider myself very, very good at languages per se. I like languages, but I feel like there are a lot of people who live in Korea for a shorter time than I've lived in Korea and can speak Korean better than me. I might be able to teach it though, whereas those people might not be able to. But you don't need to necessarily do tons and tons and tons of work to get good Korean. You just need to do tons and tons and tons of listening and speaking practice. So all of you are capable of getting to my Korean level or higher, believe it or not. Okay, I want to see what people are writing. Shipdi? Yeah, Nikki, you're actually not too far off. I'm not curious about if anyone gets the right answer. I'm just curious what kind of answers you get. Shipli, shipli, shipni, shimni, shimni. Shipni. Okay, yeah, some of you are getting like close to it. So let's do it together. Shipli, shipli, shimdi, 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 shimni. It will kind of get to where it's supposed to be on its own because you can't say shipli, shipli, shipli. It's really hard to say shibli, 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 shimni, shimni, shimni. If you say it like that, shimni, 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 you end up with shim, ni. Anyway, because the position of the tongue in the mouth when you make these letters blends like this. If you do it a lot, you do it really fast, you'll get here when you start relaxing and you say it as one sound. Shimni, shim, shim, ship. You're saying ship, but since you have to go to the li after ship, it softens it. So you get shim and then li, shim li, shimni. You only get the ni there. So shimni is what you get. This always happens. Anytime you have this letter, hiup, or again, any letter that would simplify to this, so that includes the double biup or the piup, these also would do the same thing. So they would become mium, an M, and an N, essentially. And there are actually a lot of words where this happens. It's not like it's not a rare sound change rule. Let me give you a couple more examples. Let's see. This word's for pressure. Up, ryok. Ryok is like power. Up, ryok. Up, ryok. Up, ryok. Up, ryok. Up, ryok. I'm trying to do it slowly a little bit at a time. Up, ryok. Up, ryok. This becomes a nian right away. It's not possible to say up, ryok without like really stressing. So up, ryok. Up. Okay, now let's soften this one. Up, ryok. Ryok. You can say a word a few times and try softening it. Like if you imagine that you're lazy, try just close your eyes for like 1 second and imagine you're actually a little bit lazy. I know it's kind of hard for most people to do. It's really hard for me to do. Just pretend you're a little bit lazy for a second. How would I say this word if I was lazy? Would I say abyak? No, I'd be like, right? That's where all sound change rules come from, is by being freaking lazy. Now, I'm not saying I would come to this because I'm never lazy, but yeah, that's how you get to these sound change rules. Let's do one more example. Again, this one's a really intuitive one, but it might not be at first. Some of these are less common because they might be more advanced vocabulary words. Hop you, hop you, hop you. Like right away, I can feel this changing to this, like without even trying anything. Hum you, hum you, hum you, hum. Yeah, I already did it. Hum you, hum you, hum you. If I say it really lazily, don't say the vowels lazily, but say the consonants lazily. Hum you. You get that? Hum you. Again, mium and nian. So anytime you have the B, the piup meeting the lir, it becomes a mium meeting a nian. If you forget this rule, don't worry about it because you will see it a lot. And it's also on my sound change rules list, so you can just practice from here. So no worries. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's move on. There's still a few more rules. The lir actually has 3 more. Next rule is anytime. Actually, let me just show you one. I believe this one's like evil spirit, the word for that. Okay. I'm not going to tell you the rule, but it's a similar kind of thing that we just did. How would you say this word? So let's say it, let's do it together this time. Ak byung. Ak byung. Does anyone, I want you to say it. Say it on your own. What do you get? What do you end up with? Say it a few times. Again, do not make the vowels lazy, but make the consonants a bit lazy. What do you get? And I really just want people who don't already know the answer to this. Oh yeah, we'll do the, Jihoon wrote an example. We're doing that next. That's next. Again, all of these ones with the lir are the same concept, just different letters. Yeah. Akryong, akryong, akryong. First of all, this one really quickly again becomes a nian, right? You kind of feel like it doesn't want to be an L. Akryong, 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 akryong. This one, you might not get it right away. Akryong, akryong, akryong. Again, instead of having the P becoming, what do we have? Mium, right? Now if it's a kiok, that becomes an iung. I'm sorry. Did I get that right? Yeah. Iung. So before this letter became a mium, now we have the kiok becoming an iung. It's just another letter. So what if this letter comes before the lir? Well, it becomes this. Well, what if this letter comes before the lir? It becomes this. Yeah. Let me give you another example of this. You get angyang for that. Let's see another. Pok li, pok li, pok li, pok li, pok li. Quickly it becomes nian. Pok li, pong li, pok ni, pong ni, pong ni, pong ni, pong ni. Same thing. Pong ni, pong ni, pong ni. Pong-ni, because it's easier to say. It's hard to say poke-ni. You can't say poke-ni. Like, unless you poke your knee, you're not going to say poke-ni. Pong-ni, pong-ni, pong-ni. Pong-ni. Again, this letter, or any version of it, let's say we had, let's say it was this. Like, this isn't a word, but let's say it was this letter. It's the same thing. This one gets simplified to this one anyway. You're left with pong-ni. You get the exact same thing, whether it's this one or if it's this letter. What if it's that? Same thing, pong-ni, because you can't read it otherwise. Let's do one more really quick example. Shik-yang, shik-yang. Immediately becomes nian. Xing-lang, xing-lang, xing-yang. In order to say it, this letter naturally becomes an iang, just to even say it before that letter. So you get xing-yang, xing-yang. That's it. Okay, I'm actually going to leave this thing up here. So we have this letter and this letter we've just done too. Well, what if we have, what about this? How would you say this? It's kind of a trick, but if you're doing the same thing I did, you're going to get the right answer. So don't worry about it too much. Just what do you get when you say this? Sung li. This means victory. What do you get? Keith said, I heard a Korean person say it physically hurts to actually say it incorrectly. Yes, it does. It does. It really does, because it feels so wrong if you say a word without the sound change roll. Yeah. Sungni. Yeah, victory. This one is simple because, look, you don't have to change that. It already is like sungni, sungni. Immediately you can hear it goes to nian. So sungni. But sungni is really easy to say, right? Because the sound has that. It's right on the way to make the N letter. So sungni, 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 sungni. You get it and you're done. Sungni, that's it. Sungni, you're done. You don't have to change this one. So anytime you have this letter, nothing happens. It just stays because it doesn't care. But the lir will still change to that nian because it's easier to say. And there's another letter that does the same thing. This one, mium. Pam-na, pam-na, pam-na. Again, you don't have to remember the rules so much. Just try to say it yourself. You're going to remember, oh yeah, it doesn't even sound, I can't say tam-la. It's hard to say tam-la, pam-na. And you're done, pam, because the mium makes a nice path right to nian. It's easy to say, pam-na. There is no more simplification you need. Pam-na, you're done. So these two, nothing happens to them, but they still make this letter change. The regular word for beverage is this. This is the word for beverage. How would you say it? 료, 료. That's it. 료. You're done. You don't need to add, nothing else needs to change. Okay. Let's look at this rule one more time. How lir changes to a nian. Why does that happen? Does anyone have a guess? Why do you think this letter changes to this? I mean, I've kind of mentioned it, but just say it in the chat. Why does lir change to that letter? You guys are doing really good. Oh, Nikki, thank you. Hold on, I'm sorry I don't have space here, but I'll write you over here. I don't want to erase this, but you fit in right there. Fortunate that your name's really short. Thank you for another brilliant lesson. You explained so well. Thank you, Nikki, for your support. Kyled said, hey, Kyled, you stuck around. Nice. Because it's got the same tongue position? La, nah, yeah. Actually, you know, I didn't think about it right now, but yeah, that's true. It does have the same tongue position. That's actually probably a better explanation than I was going to give you. I was just going to say because it's easier to say when you've gotten to that tongue position. But yeah, it does. Here's your tongue. These are your teeth. This is the side view. Okay. When you say the it starts there, but this is also the same spot as the nian and close to the same spot as the tigat. So it's easier to make that N sound instead of making the lir sound. So why is that important? Why does that matter? Well, let's say we have this. I'm using red just because I normally can't use it during my live stream lessons because I write like names and stuff. I'm not going to tell you the rule that we're doing here, but I'll tell you it has to do with the lir again. Say this word. This is the word for contact, like please contact me, or I contacted them last week. Tell me your contact information, like that. This is the word for contact. Oh, we haven't contacted in a week, like that. Yon lak, yon lak, yon lak, yon lak. It doesn't yon lak. It doesn't change to a nian here, does it? Yon. You can say yon lak. You can say yon lak fine. I mean, you can say it, but it doesn't feel like it wants to be a nian. But how would you say this more quickly? Because yon lak takes a little bit of stress to say it. How would you simplify it? What sounds okay to you? Say it yourself. How would you simplify it? Because like I said, I don't really feel like it wants to be a nian here. Sometimes like yon lak, you could kind of do like that, yon lak, but lak comes out there. It's not in the position where it's really hard to make it. This one, remember how I said the lir can become the nian because it simplifies? Well, whenever there's this letter that comes after the nian, so the N letter essentially, before or after this letter, it actually, in order to make it easier to say, it actually kills the nian. So these two, and this is not something that's only in sound change rules. This is something that happens anytime these two letters get together. Write this down in your notes, that these two are frenemies in all over Korean. I'm not talking about sound change rules. I'm talking about in grammar. These two are frenemies. Anytime you have a grammar rule that attaches something that starts with this letter or this letter, and anytime the word you're putting before it, a noun or a verb stem, has one of these other letters, there's going to be an interaction. Like if I told you like the ending grammar form 야고 for making commands. Well, what if the verb stem ends with the lir letter? Well, it actually goes away and you don't get 살냐고, you get 사냐고. So that's with this letter. What if we do a grammar form that has this letter in it, 려고, right? And we're going to take our verb 살다 again, to live. Well, that one just stays as 살려고 because it's lier. They're friends. But what if we have 팔다, to sell again, lier. Nope. Go away. Pa. I was kind of giving you a really quick overview because I'm not going into grammar forms right now. But you're going to see these letters fighting a lot. Lier and another lier have no problem. They're friends. Nian and another nian have no problems. The word 만나다 has two of them. To meet. They're fine. But when they get together, they fight. And one of them will take over, will kill the other one. Or one of them will switch. They don't like each other. They want each other to be both lier, both L letters. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you see these two together in any order, usually it's going to end with one of them going away. So in this case, 연락, 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 연락. It's easier to say 연락. This one is not as intuitive though, because when you say 연락, you can say it, 연락, but it's kind of a little bit harder than just saying 연락, just letting it go. So just kind of keep that in mind. And you'll notice that in a lot of grammar forms. Let me give you a few more examples of this one though. Let me do one where it's the other way around. I'm doing one where it's the other. I want to have one example where the lier comes first and the lier comes second. So you can kind of see that it works both ways. Hey, Evolving Brain. Thank you, Evolving Brain. I don't have any room to write your name. I'm going to put it right here. It's going to be really small, but I promise you it's going to be right here. Hold on. You see it? I hope you can see it's right here. I'll write it bigger as soon as I erase this. Thank you, Evolving Brain. What is the origin or history of super being translated as 슈퍼 instead of as 수퍼? 슈퍼. Let me see if I can find it out really quick. If not, I'll have to research it. My guess, just total guess, is that it might have come through Japanese pronunciation, which wouldn't have done it like that. They would have done it as 슈퍼. But let me check. Oh, there's an article about that. Yeah, let me see. I'm just reading it really quick. The answer is, and a blog post I just really quickly from Korean who's talking about this, says that the reason was they said that 슈퍼 is the more common pronunciation in English where it came from. But my guess is that it seems like it just came over from British English. 슈퍼, which more like has like a different S sound. Because we don't say super, we say super, right? Super. I guess they would say soup. Soupo. Soup. Can I get some soup or salad? I don't know why they got it as shoe, but there are a few other words like that also where they actually brought them over from British English, not American English. The origin of that, I'd have to research it. I'm sure there is another reason to it if I looked into it further, but that's my really quick 30-second research into a few blogs and quick posts as to the reason why. Okay. 혼란. Again, you can think of it like 혼란. It's easier to say that way. You can just kind of remember these two letters don't get along that well sometimes. 혼란. 스물네. This is the word, well, actually, if it was just 24, you're going to have 스물네. But let's say 스물네 something, or like just 스물네. Let's keep it simple. Just the number. 스물네. 스물네. 스물넷 is what you get. If you say it separately, 스물넷, 24. But together, 스물넷 is what you get. 스물넷. So whether it's before or after, these two will make both of them become, most of the time, they make them both become this letter, the lir. However, there is a common exception that I'll just say write it down just to remember it. This. You saw this when I gave an example of like amnyok, right? For pressure, I said, which became amnyok. But this letter, this specific syllable commonly, not commonly, but sometimes when it comes before this letter, it actually gives up. I'll tell you what I mean. So what is nyok? Well, nyok is actually, I think it's, no, wait, that's 9. Hold on, yeah, that one, right? Oh, there we go. Yeah, nyok is power. It means power or strength. Him, right? This is a Hanja word. The funny thing is this is weak. This is weak as. This will give up a lot of times. So what do you get? You don't get this one becoming lir, you get this one becoming nyok. Just this kind of a funny thing to keep in mind in some words. It's actually in a handful of words I've seen where it does this. Let me give you an example. 표현 is expression, the ability to express. So this is like the power or the ability of expression. 표현, here it's the nian and the lir. So you might think that they're going to fight and that it's going to become 표현력 or something like that. It's actually 표현력. So it gives up. It's like, nah, you can have it. So this is power and it's super weak. Kind of remember that. So it gives up. So 표현력 is what you get. 표현력. And there are a few other cases where it happens. It's not just 력, but the reason I'm mentioning 력 is because there are a few words where that happens. Besides a few exceptions, most of the time, this letter, well, that's horrible. I did the right stroke order, but that looked horrible. Most of the time, this letter will win. So anytime this letter comes before or after the nian, this one will be victorious. So keep that in mind. If you ever have doubts, just change them both to this letter. You're going to be okay. Even if it's not the right one, they're going to they might even not know. They might even think it does become the other one. If it's not like a really common word. Okay. Oh, I can rewrite Evolving Brain now. With an actual... Thank you. Go back to your... Oh, wait. Evolving Brain, you gave another one. Hey, thank you, Evolving Brain. I write you here again, and you have another comment for me. You say, go back to your Busan routes and give 광안리. Oh, that's a good example. I mean, I just said it. 광안리, 광안리, 광안리 is what you get. So again, this wins. And you get 광안리. Here. Okay. So that's all for that letter. Now that letter had 5 different rules. There are a few more. Now, this word, you've seen this before, like 감사합니다. You all know this is pronounced as 합니다, right? Well, when does that happen? Why does that happen? Well, anytime you have this letter or this sound plus either of the nasal consonants. So that's nian or miam. These are called nasal consonants because they're made with that part of they add in a little bit of that nasally sound when you make them. So anytime you have this coming after this sound, this becomes miam. And this might seem a little bit like, why? But it's also very intuitive. Say it. Say it and you'll see why. 합니다. 합니다. You already make the habnida, habnida. It does it itself. You don't even need to learn this one, but I'll give you a few more examples. Oh, Kyled. Thank you, Kyled. I just saw your donation right now. Just like that comment. Kyled. Okay, I still have some room here. I can write it. Kyled says, I have to leave now, but thank you for the lessons. I'm glad you stayed this long. I thought you were going to take off earlier. Today I learned I will never have a more complicated relationship with myself than Nian and Liu. We'll be joining my next lesson with my boyfriend. Oh, nice. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for your support, Kyled, as always. Yeah, skill of expression. There you go. Sure. In the word shipta is the shield pronounced as S, but why is that? It's because the diphthong, I don't want to use this color. This is what I use for my donations. But anyway, this vowel has this, this diphthong has this vowel in it. Anytime there's that vowel next to this letter, it becomes an SH sound. That's because it never wasn't that sound in the first place. It was always a sh sound to begin with. But you hear it when it comes before an E, any sort of diphthong or vowel that has E. Not just the vowel E itself, but anything that has the vowel E in it. And that also includes everything that has a Y sound, because that is ya, ya. So this one is not sia, it's sha. Okay, pop, mogo, pop, mogo. This is like, I don't even know why I'm giving you more examples. This is so self-explanatory now. Pammogo. Again, this letter before any nasal consonant, which are these two, nian and miam, becomes miam. Because that's naturally pab. It naturally does that sound, right? Your lips close like you would if you were making the miam. Pabmogo, pabmogo, pammogo. Eat. Pammogo. Let's see. Let's do another. Eep. Hear your breath. Oops. Nemse is a smell. Eep is mouth. So this is a mouth smell. This is your breath. That's what they call. Im nemse. Oh, your breath smells like that. Eep. Nemse. Im nemse. Eep. Im nemse. That's it. Throw this in the trash. I hate this thing. It's going in the trash right now. Its marker's gone. Get out of here. Go. Be free. I try again. Okay. Trash can's like hiding under my desk. Okay. There we go. That'll teach it. Okay. One more. Again, let's talk about these nasal consonants. Oh no, I erased the L on Kyla. Let me fix that. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about these nasal consonants again. Anytime you have this consonant before a nasal consonant, something else happens too. Okay, everyone knows this word, or you should. Hanguk, 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 right? Korea. But what if you say Hanguk 말? This is a nasal consonant. 말, literally words. So Korean words, this is one of the ways you can say Korean language. The other way you can say is 한국어, which again is 국어 because it flows through this empty consonant. 한국어, which is also the Korean language. Some people prefer saying it that way or this way. They're both the same thing. They have different nuance. 한국어 has slightly more formal feeling to it, but they're both commonly used. But how do you say this? We'll say it. 한, 국, 말, 한국, 말, 한국, 국. It cuts off the sound at the end if you try to say 말. You get this. Oh, that's horrible. You get this. whether you like it or not. You cannot say 한국말 without adding in k. You're adding in a sound that's not there. 한국말. It becomes this. 한국말. So anytime you have kiuk before a nasal sound, it becomes this. Let me do another one. This is the word for like soup, like the liquid part of your soup without ingredients in it. 국물, 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 국물. Let me find a different one that's different letters. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, national. This is the word for like national, like in the country. 국 means country, 내 means within. 국내, 국내, 국내. Like if you say it slowly, it'll become by itself 국내, 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 right? I'm saying 국내, but it sounds like 국내 because that's how you have to say it. 국내, 국내 becomes 국내. This isn't like a super common one, but you'll see a lot. Okay, here's one. Let's do an expression. Let's make it an expression. 목이 마르다 is the verb. 목 means throat. 마르다 means to be dry. So if you say 목 말라요, it means my throat is dry, and that's how you say I'm thirsty. 목 말라요 is two separate words. 목 말라요. But if you say it together, sound change rules don't care what the word is. They don't know if it's like a separate word or not. All they care about is making things easier to pronounce. So if you say it together, well, there you go. Now it's a sound change rule. If you said 목 말라요, it sounds like two separate words. If you say it together, 목 말라요, 목 말라요, 목 말라요. 아, 목말라. 아, 목말라. 아, 물이 먹고 싶어. 목말라. 목말라. I'm saying 목말라, but it has to come out that way. Okay, there are just two more sound change rules. There are a couple advanced ones on this list. I don't know if we'll have time to do those today. But let's talk about again with the nasal letters. If these nasal letters come after this sound. So before we had the kyuk, the K letter, now let's look at it with the D or the T sound. Then this will become, what will this become? Let me give you an example. This one's not super common, but you'll see it. Let's do this. So here we have this letter coming before a nasal sound. What happens to it? Try saying it. Tell me what sound you get. Pod, na, pod, na, pod, na. I'll let you write it. What sound do you get? Cribberdoodle, the stream finishes whenever we finish the lesson. You're free to come and go. This will also be uploaded after it's done. And some people do actually they don't watch the streams live, they watch them later. In the cattle, 국내, yes. Yes, Michael, yeah. Lady Natbug, yes. Yes, Roadrunner, yeah. padna, 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 panna. You get this, panna becomes, so the T letter becomes a N when it comes before another nasal sound for the same reason, because that's where your mouth ends up after you make this sound anyway. Padna, 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 panna, panna, panna. That's it. Let's do another one. Here, it doesn't just apply to this, but it's any this sound. Just like we had the K or this one or this one, or we had this one and this one and this one. It's the same thing because you can't pronounce it by itself anyway. You wouldn't be able to make the sound. So it always would become mat when you're saying it anyway. So how do you say this one? Mad, then, mad, then, mad, then. 맞는. 맞는 is how you say it. 맞는. Let's do another one. This one's a little bit trickier, maybe. How would you even say this sound in the first place? Isbom? I mean, again, there is no sound in Korean. It's eat. There's no empty consonant for it to flow through, so it just gets pronounced like eat. And remember, sound change rules don't care what kind of word it is. They don't care if it's not this. They only care about how you're actually making the sounds with your mouth. So as far as sound change rules are concerned, this is the same as this to it because it's this sound when you say it. So it becomes this same rule. Eat, boom. Eat, boom. Eat, boom. Eat, boom. Inmom. Then this is the word for your gums. Like the ie boom, like the tooth. Anyway, yeah, it's your gums. Inmom. Let's do another one. This is really common. This is a common one you're going to see. Yeah, Jonesy, make sure to also get the sound change rule cheat sheet. All these rules, although not my explanations along with them completely, but all the rules are written out here and they're organized. So you can just keep this. You still want to get a lesson on them, but then you can have those for reference. Myot means how many. Again, it doesn't matter if it's written that way. This is how you say it because you can't say myot. It has to be myot. So you get myot. 년, 몇 년, 몇 년, 몇 년. How many years? 몇 년 살았어요? How many years did you live there? 10년 넘게 살았어요. 몇 년 살았어요? 몇 년생이세요? What year were you born? 몇 becomes 몇 년. I think I need to get markers that are also magnetic. Just like wrap magnets around the whole markers. That way I can stick all of them to the board. That's my next goal. Okay, and then there's one more rule we have to go over. I mean, actually there are two more, but they're more advanced and you don't really need to know them if you're learning these for your first time. These letters. These letters, anytime they combine with anything that's like a Y sound, they will become as this and this. Tiga, the D, if it comes before any sound that has like a Y sound, like I shouldn't even say Y sound. It's any E vowel, E, and that includes the Y. So anytime it's like an E, like D or whatever, it will change into this. Chia, a J essentially, and this will be changed into a CH sound. That sounds so weird, doesn't it? That sounds really freaky. Hold on. This one doesn't make any sense. I got to think about this for a second. So you're telling me that a D changes into a J and a T changes into a CH? This never happens anywhere in the entire world. Korean's so weird. Korean's so silly. We don't do anything like that in English. Well, I gotta wipe my nose for a second. Anyway, as I was saying, this doesn't make any sense. There's no basis for this in any other language in the world. But anyway, for ease of pronunciation, when these letters come before any sort of E vowel, this will change into a J sound. This will change into a CH sound. Did we cover 꽃잎, Oh, evolving brain. You don't have to pay me to ask questions, but I will look at your question harder when you do. I will go over that. Let me write that down. See, I'll write it down with green as a, let's put a note up here. Yeah, we'll cover 꽃잎 in a second before we finish today. Okay, so hopefully you caught my sarcasm. We do the same thing in English. We just don't do it with quite the same letter, but who says train? You can say train, but we say train with a CH sound. Who says drain? We say drain in American English. Drain with a J. We do the same thing as this in English. We just don't do it with the same sound, with the vowel sound E necessarily, but we do it. Same idea. So let me show you what that looks like. This is just because it's hard in English and it's hard in Korean to make that T sound, a hard T sound at the beginning or the middle of a word. It's always easier to change it to a J sound or a CH sound. We do that in English. So let's see. YouTube. Well, that's, yeah, YouTube. Okay. Some really common words. This is not kudi. Although you could say kudi, right? Because it's right before that little empty letter. So it should be kudi, right? Yeah, kudi. It's easier, it's just easier. It just turns out to be easier. I don't actually know the full reason why. There's probably some language transformation that took place over time. This one's just read and every word where that comes before an E sound, again, the vowel E, or any sort of E sound, 굳이. You probably know this one. How do you say this? Is it 같이? 같이? 저와 같이? No, it's 저와 같이. Because it's easier to say 같이 than 같이. It's just easier to say it. This isn't like an obvious one where it'll just happen naturally. At least probably not. But it is easier to say 같이 than 같이. 같이. And this happens actually a lot. There aren't too many of these. Let's see. The verb. Actually, I almost wrote that. Sure, I'll keep it. Okay. This verb is for sticking something, adhering. If you're sticking something on the wall, you're sticking something on, you put a sticker on your book. 붙이다. You could say 붙이다, but it's easier to say 붙이다. 붙이다. So what if you conjugate this verb? Like, oh, how did I do it twice again? You tell someone, hey, stick it here. Put the label over here. 붙여요. Again, it still has that E sound. 붙여요. 여기 붙여요. 붙여. It's kind of similar, but it's easier to say. 붙여요. However, this is not with other vowels. It's only easier when it combines with an E vowel, and that includes any of the Y diphthongs as well, like ya or yo or anything like that. If it's just this, like this is a sticker that's stuck on the book. 여기 붙은 스티커. 붙은. It's not 붙은. It's fine to say 붙은, but it's kind of hard to say T and D. It's easier to say chi and G than it is to say that. But if it's any other vowel, in this case, the vowel, or maybe this, 붙어. It's just 붙어. It's not 붙여 for this because it's not the E sound. So again, it's only with that E sound. Let's do another one. Let's do this. There's another verb. 갓히다. 갓히다, right? Well, it's this letter, so it should add extra air. So 갓히다, right? Yeah, I mean, you can think of it like that. If you got to here, you're fine. You're doing a good job. You remembered the rule about hiat is just extra air. 갓히다. But then you also have to remember that T is kind of hard to say in verbs. Now, ignore the fact there actually is a Korean word, T, which is said as T. But besides that word, T, this one actually is said as chi. 가치다. So even though it's he, it gets sound as 같이, even though it would be 같이 for the same reason. So if you were to say 갇혀, 갇혀, not 갇혀. With words like that, though, it really helps that you can use this, because imagine if you had to say this the regular way without this simplification rule. So, you look at it, okay, it's the strong one, so I make it a strong consonant, and we roll it over here, and we get, try to say this, 같혀, 같혀, that's just hard to say, 같혀. So it really is good that we have this rule for stuff like this, 같혀, 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 it's much easier to say, 같혀. So Korean just does what we like doing too and makes things easier to read. Okay, there are some other rules, but I'm just going to go over one more rule because Evolving Brain asked a question about it. Let me just refresh this. Oh, and okay, so what? Yeah, so someone asked about this word. That was the, we already did that rule. Whenever it comes after the, that would have been, let me check which rule that was. Yeah, we already did that rule. Whenever it's the lir comes after the K sound, then the K becomes an N, an ing, the simple circle one, and then a lir becomes a nian. We did that rule a little bit earlier. Okay, so Evolving Brain was asking about another word. This one you have to learn another rule in order to pronounce it. Now, there aren't too many words like this. First of all, let's just try to read it with what we know. So, flower, leaf. This is like rose petal, like flower petal, basically. 꽃 and 잎 together. Well, you see there's an empty vowel, empty consonant here, so we should be able to do this, right? 꽃잎, but we actually can't. The reason is these are meant to be two separate words that were stuck together. It's not meant to be one word. It's supposed to be flower, leaf. It's supposed to be that. So when you're in a situation when two words are combined into one, most of the time you actually have no problem. You just read them one after the other. But there's an exception when the second word that you're combining starts with this vowel, E. Again, this one gets used a lot. When the second word, in this case, flower, first word, second word, starts with any syllable that has this in it, there's something different that will happen most of the time. What is that? Whatever was there will be pronounced at, actually, I shouldn't even say it's E. It's actually, to make it simple, it's actually anytime this is at the start of the second word when you're combining two words together. In this case, 꽃잎, this one starts with E and ends with the piup at the bottom. So E. This one actually will become ni, just like the knights. This one becomes ni. Anytime it's the second word in a compound word. This doesn't happen too much though. There are some words where you see it. Another one is this one. A lot of the ip words you'll see it because this starts with that. And ip means leaf. So anytime you have like something leaf, you'll get this because they're separate words originally. This one's perilla leaf. You also have the same issue with this. So this one, how do you say it? Well, they're separate words. So we can't say it like one word because they're separate words. So what do we get? Well, you can't say 꽃 like that. right? It has to become good, right? Like this, right? So you're left with good, ip. But I said when you're combining two words together, and the second one starts with an E, it becomes ni. So you get this actually. Good, ni. What do you do when you have this letter before a nasal sound? What happens to this? Do you remember? Well, I'll tell you, it becomes a nian as well. So it's several rules put together. So this one becomes a nian because it comes before a nasal sound, which was created because it was the second syllable in a compound word. And you get gonip. This one you can't read at the end anyway, so it becomes this. As we said before, it simplifies. So you get gonip. These are lots of rules working together. The simple version of this is it's easier to say it like this. It would be hard to say good ip and keep them as separate words. So it became gonip to say them as separate sounds so you can hear them as separate words, but that they can be said quickly together, if that helps. That's the reason why this exists. So you can say two separate words together quickly and smoothly and easily, but not have it sound like it's one word now. gonip. Do you need to learn this rule? It's called nian 첨가, basically nian addition. I have it in my cheat sheet, which explains how it works. Do you need to learn this rule? Honestly, no. Just be aware that because it doesn't come up too often, just be aware that if you see a word that starts with an E sound like that, and it seems a little bit different, just look, does that look like a compound word? If it does, it probably is this rule at work. Let me give you another example though. Like I said, it's not super common, but there are a good handful of words that are commonly used that you'll see it. Ar is like a tablet and yak is medicine. So this is like pill medicine, pills. So it's two words though, pill and medicine. So in order to keep it as two words, it's not one word. This one starts with an E sound. Remember, it's ia. So it's ia. That's how you get the Y. So it's ia. So this one happens. So it happens to this one too. So instead of iak, you get niak. So we have now, instead of ayak, we have ayak. Well, what happens when this letter and this letter meet? Well, most of the time I said they fight and they both become this. It converts the nian to its cult and they join forces. Ayak is what you're left with. Or you can just search in the dictionary, ayak, and it'll show you the pronunciation is ayak. So you don't really need to learn this rule. And it's not that common. Like if you were to just say, let me show you. If you didn't know this rule and you just said ayak, 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 they're going to know what you're talking about. They're like, oh, you mean ayak? Yeah, sure. It sounds almost the same. So they're going to totally understand you. Don't really worry about this rule. A really common, this isn't always though. Although, 일 means sun, it's from Hanja, and 요일 means the day of the week. This one's not quite used as its own word. If you want to say a day, they normally use 날 for day by itself, not 일. And if you want to say sun, you can use 해 or 태양. So this is not really considered a part of it, but this one's not pronounced with that rule. It's just 일요일, like normal. This is considered to be one word, not two words put together, if that helps. So this one is just normal. This doesn't apply to that rule. Other times though, they do. Another really common one you might see with that is the blanket. Remember, yo is io. I-o, yo. This one originally was two words, so you get 담요. But if you were to say 담요, they'll all understand what you're saying. In fact, they might even say it that way too, depending on, what they know. So don't worry about this rule. It just is a rule that exists. So just keep an eye out. If you see a word that's like, it's two words stuck together and the second starts with an E sound, then it starts, if you hear them say it with an N, it's that. That's what it is. It's one of those words, but there aren't too many. My guide only lists 5 or 6 examples, and there are maybe another dozen or so that are even used. So don't worry about it too much. Yeah. And then there's one more sound change rule on here, which I'm not going to cover because it's really specific. But if you want to learn, there's about pronouncing words that have specific hanja syllables in them, where those syllables get pronounced with a double consonant instead. It's like a really specific word. Like, why is the word hanja for like Chinese characters? Why do people read it as hanja? Although technically it should be hanja, but no one says hanja. We all say hanja. So anyway, there's a bunch of things like that where you see them read differently. That's like another unofficial sound change rule because it's not actually in the official sound change rules that you can find, but it does happen. So yeah, that's another one. And that's pretty much it. All of the sound change rules I did today are also summarized in this single sound change rules sheet, which you can download completely for free from my Patreon page. You don't have to join as a paid member. You can join as a free member. There are like, I think like over 1,000 or 2,000 people who are just free members of my Patreon page. And you can download these. There are 12 of them currently. There's one for sound change rules. There's one for like colors, verb conjugation, conjugating adjectives and action verbs and descriptive verbs, all that stuff. It's all there. It's all for free. Yeah. Okay, so that's our lesson. I know I said it was going to be a short lesson and ended up taking the exact same amount of time as a full lesson, but now I'm available for some questions if anyone has any. I hate how 물건 is 물건, but 사건 is 사건. Yeah, that's actually here. 조건, 사건. Yeah, there are a lot of them. But it's not an always rule. It's a usually rule. And sometimes they don't apply. Sometimes the alternate version gets so popular that they officially add it. Like 효과 for an effect originally was only 효과, but not everyone, but most people, most of the time say it as 효과, even though it's not written that way, even though there's no reason to say it that way. So much that they officially said, okay, fine. Have it your way. It's actually 효과 and 효과 if you want. So sometimes they just officially add the wrong, quote unquote wrong. I mean, what it really is wrong. It's just whatever they say it is. Sometimes the official is like the official organization who sets the rules. Sometimes they are misguided a bit, I'll say. But most of the time though, they have it right. Yeah. So you'll see some stuff that's like, there will be multiple ways to say words, and it might just be because of that. Just because people say it that way, they added it, but they also don't add everything that's really common, just whatever they feel like at a certain point. Nikki says, hilariously, I'm finding myself learning nearly as much about English as I am Korean while I learn Korean. Yeah, it does happen that way. Sometimes I feel like I learned a lot of English through learning Korean. I also learned a lot of Japanese through studying Korean because there are a lot of similarities. So like I would learn roots or origins or meanings or something for some Korean expression. And then I'd later think about it and I'm like, oh, Japanese is kind of like that too, or maybe a little bit different, but I get how it worked in that way. So even though the languages aren't related, there are so many similarities that you can still find. And 고양이 and other similar spellings will not carry 기억 over the 이응. Oh, what do you mean? The 기억 고양이. Well, you wouldn't have it because it already gets captured by the 오. Like the word 고 already gets that sound. So there isn't any sound to carry over except for the ng sound, which does get carried over. 고양이, 고양이. So it's 응기, like that. 고양이. 고양이, 고양이. It's not 고양기, but it's 고양이. Lady Natbug said, could you add a link to the cheat sheets? Yes, I can add a link to the cheat sheets. I'll put them in the chat. All the cheat sheets are there. Although the video only introduces 6, But if you look, because that was the first video I put out, but if you look in the description, there are links to the other 3 videos with 2 more each. So there's a total of 12. Or if you want to skip all that, just go straight to my Patreon page. And there's a collection that says cheat sheets you can find of all the posts I've ever made for cheat sheets. The regular standard edition, so the SD versions, are free. If you're clicking the HD versions and wondering why they're paid, that's because the HD versions are only paid. That's if you wanted to print it out on like a big poster for some reason, or if you're weird and you just want a PNG image instead of a high quality JPEG, then that's what the high quality versions are for. But the SD quality versions they're what I use to print these. So you can get full quality on a single sheet of paper with the free version. So I'm not restricting any of that. It's just paid if you wanted to like get the giant version, like I said, and put it on your wall. Like you want this wall to have cheat sheets for sound change rules and this wall to have conjugation. Then you'd have to pay me $1 for that. And you get all 12 of them for $1. But the free ones are still good enough for printing on a regular sheet of paper. I mean, you could print the free ones out on a poster too. You probably wouldn't even notice. But if you wanted, you want the highest quality, then I'd probably get that. Scrambled eggs on toast is Chong Li. Think about it. Say it to yourself. How would it sound? Chong Li. It very quickly becomes ni if you just try to say it as one word in one breath. So yes. Can shipshio be pronounced as shipshio? Yes, because you have... Yes, evolving brain. These are all diphthongs, meaning they are 2 vowels stuck together. Although they usually don't get taught as diphthongs just because they're fairly easy to pronounce. You can just look at it and say, oh, it's a yo, right? But it is a diphthong. This is e, o. You is e, u, you. E, a, ya. And e, o, yo. So that's why ship, shi, o, can sound like shipshio because it has the e-o sound in it already. So if you say it quickly, shipshio, it sounds like the same as yo, right? So yeah, if you see someone saying it, if you hear someone saying it, if you see someone saying it, you might need to visit a doctor. If you hear someone saying it like that, it can sound the same because it has that e-o sound in it. Or just to throw our illustrious teacher some gratuity. I do appreciate it. The other day, I found myself second guessing how to spell aeroplane because Korean is always translated into American English. That's right. Yeah, we say airplane. Do they say aeroplane? And is that a British English thing? I mean, I understand the word aeroplane, but I've never really seen it used, I think. But I know it. Why do I know that word? When do you say aeroplane? Valeria asks a good question. Why is 별일 pronounced as 별일? So were you here just 5 minutes ago when I was talking about the 2 words combined as one? 일 means an event, something happening, something taking place. 별 means particular, special, like unique, noteworthy. 별일, one word, the second word. First word and second word combined together, but they're still separate words. They're just a compound word. This one starts with the sound E. So it becomes ni. So you get 별일, right? Yes. But then what happens when these 2 meet? This one goes away most of the time, and you left with this, 별일. But if you just saw this word and said 별일 or 별일, no one's going to care. They're not going to have any problem understanding you because it sounds close enough to 별일. So that's why I don't think this rule is so necessary to stress about. Know it exists. It'll help you later on, but like don't stress too much because even if you don't say it correctly, it's not going to sound like a different word. They'll still know what you're trying to say. Someone said British English. Okay. British. RHCP? I'm scared to. What is that? I don't know what that is. Is that a group? Is that a band or food? I don't know. Okay, I'm still taking questions. Red Hot Chili Peppers. What did they say? What am I missing? What's the joke? Did they say something? I know the band. I know Red Hot Chili Peppers. But I'm like, what? Did I miss the song reference? Or was this just a random question, randomly? Like, hey, Billy, do you like Red Hot Chili Peppers? Ah, okay, okay. I don't know if I know that song. I don't consider myself a fan, but I know all their hits. If that makes any sense. I know all their hits, of course. You hear them on the radio. Weird Al's made fun of 2 of them. I know Flea was one of the voice. I think it was Donnie in the Wild Thornberries. So yeah, I'm aware of them. We have not had any food talk today. That's a good point. Feel free to ask about food if you want. From the aughts. Okay. I'll stick around for just a few more minutes. So if you have any other last minute questions, now's a good time to ask. How's the course going, Billy? Says Cosma. Yeah, the course is going. It's coming out the end of next month. I'm like dying because it takes so much time, but finally this week I'm going to be finishing up the last lesson. There are 20 lessons, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but each lesson took me, I'm not joking, like a week worth of writing. I've been working on this course since the beginning of the year, like after I already had an outline, but I've been writing it and everything since the beginning of the year, 6 days a week, from morning to night. And it has over, like I said, it has over 250 sentence connectors. It's just ridiculous. Each of those has example sentences, of course. So there's a lot of sentences. I feel bad for the person I'm going to hire to record all those. And yeah, I'm going to start filming it. And hopefully I'll start uploading it next month at the end of the month. And also release a book along with it. And that'll be a free course, again, completely free. The book will have a few extra example sentences. I think each form will come with like an extra 1, sometimes 2 example sentences, depending on the form. But so the book's just the same thing with a little bit extra. But other than that, it's the same thing. You don't get extra lessons from the book. It's just people who want a book. And then Daddy Tojang asks, do we have to join Patreon to get the free cheat sheets? Yes, you do. But there is a free tier on Patreon, so you don't have to pay, if that's what you're wondering. It's free. I just have it as a way. It's kind of like join my email list and get this free. It's kind of that sort of thing where you join my Patreon so you get updates from me, but I don't collect your email addresses, if that makes, like I don't spam people with email and stuff, but you do have to join the Patreon to get access to the free cheat sheets for that. I didn't want to just throw them up on my website because I felt like if I throw them on the website, people are just going to immediately download them, forget I exist, sell them on Etsy or whatever. And, I was like, I don't want to do that. So at least I put the small barrier of joining my Patreon page for that. Evolving Brain. Again, Evolving Brain. Thank you so much for your support. Does sundae have filling that is made from the same stuff as japchae? Yeah, kind of. There are different types of sundae though. But yeah, it's kind of like that, those noodles mixed with like rice and the blood, the animal blood. I want to say it's pork, but it might be beef. I think it's pork blood. And I'm not exactly sure what other ingredients are in it. I've never made it before, but yeah, it does kind of have like the tangmyeon, the potato starch noodles, the glass noodles in there as well. Yeah, but then there are different types. So you might see other ingredients sometimes in them. How is Kiket? Kiket's doing well. Kiket's been sleeping since the last time I went to Korea, but I'm gonna have to wake her up because we're gonna be filming for the new course probably later this week if I can, or next week. I'm gonna plan to film all 20 episodes at once. And then I have to film a bunch of other stuff too, because I'm gonna be gone in Korea, so I have to prepare a lot of videos to upload while I'm in Korea in advance. Korean sounds like British English? What? Unrelated. Can surok be followed by a past tense? Can it? I mean, you could do it, but no, it's not. Because it's the more you do, not the more you did. The more something is, the more something is how you use it. So it's just used after regular verb stem, not past tense. Galva asks, pronouncing 맛없다, is it also part of a rule? Kind of. I actually made a separate Korean FAQ all about this. I don't know if I uploaded it yet. Let me check really quick if I uploaded it. Well, I made a video exactly on that question with 맛없다 and 맛있다. Let me just see if I've uploaded or not. Yeah, it's up. It's on my channel. How to pronounce 맛있다 and 맛없다. And it is, let me put a link to it in the chat. Okay, check that out. That's the answer to your question, because it is sound change rules, but it's also something else. There's a reason why 맛있다 is pronounced the way it is. But as far as 맛없다, yes, 맛 is this sound change rule. You can't say 맛. You have to say it as 맛. But the actual answer to that question, because I know why you're asking it, it's in relation to the other verb. It's a little longer answer, but watch the video. It's pretty short. When are you traveling to Korea? I'm going to be going to Korea the very, very, very end of May. I'll be there. So Sabna said, I had a Korean friend pronounce my names as Sapuna and another as Samna. Yeah. Yeah. So if they wrote your name the way it's spelled, this has to be pronounced as Sabna, which becomes, as you can hear it, you don't say as Sabna, it's Sabna. So you get Samna. So you would say it as Samna. But if they are trying to read it as the P as a separate sound, like Sapuna, then they're going to say it as Sapuna, like that. But I don't know how you'd write your name because I don't know your name. I don't know how it's pronounced. I don't know how Koreans normally write it. You'd have to Google it or check on Naver. Search your name in Naver and see what people write for that. Christopher asked, do you have any more planned cheat sheets like weather, phrases, 부터까지, 에서까지? So kind of. There is none for the other first, but there is one for particles and there is one for from and to. So I'll show you. So there is one about particles, which has like 에서 and like to and from like that. But then there's a different one. Let me find it here. Okay, this one is on how to say from and to for the time, but it's not 에서까지, it's 부터까지. 부터 and 까지. There's a part on the telling the time cheat sheets that has to and from, but again, it's to and from time. The other ones I don't have yet, but for your question of, do I have, oh, I bumped my head in my leg. Do I have plans for more cheat sheets? The answer is yes, but I don't know when, because I can only do the cheat sheets if people want them, but I have to wait to see if people are going to, if enough people are going to download them, because I've already released 12, which took a ton of time, but the first one had a really good response. The extra ones didn't have as many people who seemed to want the videos. Not a lot of people downloading them in comparison. So if people eventually find them, I think it's just people don't know they exist. If people eventually find them and start sharing them around, that they exist, please share the Patreon link at least so they'll sign up for Patreon. But then, yeah, I do have plans for several others I would like to make, but I have to wait because again, they're free. So I can't prioritize them over projects that can help pay the bills, but I would like to do more. So yes, I do plan to make more, but I don't know when it'll be. The easiest way to see if someone's Korean is to ask them to pronounce upload. No, I think ask them to pronounce the word squirrel. I haven't met a single Korean person. Okay, I'm not making fun of them. I've never met a single Korean person, except for people who just are Korean, but they live abroad. I've never met a single Korean person, regardless of their English ability, who can pronounce the word squirrel perfectly. And there are a few other words as well, but squirrel is one of the biggest ones. Ask them to say squirrel. Doesn't matter how long they studied English. Doesn't matter how fluent they are. You're going to hear something with the word squirrel. Upload. I mean, they can say upload. Another word, there are a few other ones. Another one is I edited it. Ask them to say I edited it. Like I edited the video. I edited it. We can say it, no problem. Edited it. Koreans also cannot say that, even the ones that are very good at English, just because they are sounds that are really not in Korean, like stuck together really quickly, that they're hard to say. They take a lot of practice to say unless you're used to it. They're kind of like mini tongue twisters that are easy for natives, but like tongue twisters for everyone else. And there are a few more. Sometimes I'll use those as like little tongue twisters in like mini lessons. If someone's asking me for advice on pronunciation, or we're talking about how to pronounce things, those are ones you can use. How do they sound when they say squirrel? Well, ask one. You can hear them. Like if you say it with a Korean accent, then you might say sukuwon, or like you hear that, but they're not going to say it like that. I'm not talking about that, but like ones who already know English and they know the sounds. They can say the sounds really well already, but those sounds put together in that word can be really tricky to say. Ed edited it. It sounds like, did you play Star Fox for the Super Nintendo? Sounds like the rabbit. Do you know any interesting Korean tongue twisters? Maybe something Sabna, there's a video I just uploaded recently with my son where we did a bunch of Korean tongue twisters. So check my channel for recent uploads. You'll see one with my son's face, and it's about Korean tongue twisters. I think it was the first one we did, or maybe the second one we did. Av Gurinen said, how to write sentences like this where it contains more nouns and verbs. I like apples, pineapples, cucumbers, and milk. I like to read, exercise, sleep, and eat. So you're asking about how do I just say the word and I have lots of lessons about that. I would recommend, judging by your question, that you haven't yet learned how to say and in Korean yet, the different sentence connectors for that. So I have a free course. I'll link it again. Why not? I have a free course, beginner Korean course. Not to say you're a brand new beginner. I don't know your level, but that has answers to all of that. It has a lot of the basic ways to say and, as well as how to connect verbs and nouns. And then if you want more than that, once you finish that course, I have another course coming up the end of next month, which will be like every sentence connector in Korean. I'm not joking. It's over 250. It's for beginners, brand new beginners. It's for like regular beginners who've known the basics. It's for an intermediate level. And it's also even, believe it or not, for advanced learners too. So there's going to be something in it for everyone. And it's divided up into sections. So if you're watching it and you're beginner and you see something that's advanced, you'll easily know where to skip it. Everything's marked by level. I put a little like a difficulty system in it so you can see like, oh, that's not for me, or that's too easy or too hard. So you can watch the lessons pretty quickly depending on your level. But yeah, they're coming out soon. And yes, the beginner course is also completely free. What percentage of your conversations are had with native English speakers? What do you mean? Just in my life? You're talking about since I was born 38 years ago? What percentage of my conversations are with native English speakers? I mean, like 99%, probably. Most of the time I'm speaking English because I grew up here. I grew up in the US. If I'm speaking with my friends, the majority of my friends are Korean, so I'll speak kind of a mix depending on who it is. Some are just only English, some are only Korean, some will mix sometimes. So I don't know. These days, still the majority, like when I'm in the US, the majority of my conversations are going to be in English. But I don't know. But I do talk with my friends a couple times a week. Oh, that's a good question. Let's just say, I'm just going to throw out a number. I'll say 20% is Korean of like everyday general stuff. Because I do a lot of speaking Korean too, but the bulk of what I do, like if I go to the supermarket, I'm not going to be speaking Korean out loud to anyone. If I'm like going to a restaurant, not too common, but if I go to a restaurant, I'm not going to be talking to the waiter or the cashier in Korean. So yeah, I'd say mostly is English, but a good 20%, let's just say that 20% is in Korean. When I'm in Korea, though, ask me that again. When I'm in Korea, I'll give you a different number. Taeyoung Kuma. Thank you, Taeyoung. Happy Easter. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's Easter today. I didn't forget. Normally, every year I would go to my mom's house and we would do like a Passover, like a Seder, like a mini Seder kind of. And, you know, also do pagan traditions of Easter egg hunting and stuff like that and get snacks. It's kind of a mix of everything. But this year she had some meeting or whatever and we couldn't meet in the morning. We couldn't meet earlier and she only had time like in the later afternoon. So the timing didn't, and everyone else in my family is doing other things this year. So we just didn't do one this year, but normally we do. So yeah, happy Easter if you celebrate that. Or if you don't, then hope you get lots of, I don't know, whatever you do, you're probably doing something today. Well, when in Korea, are your thoughts in Korean instead of English? So being in Korea or in US doesn't really matter for my thoughts. It'll be whatever I was most recently doing. So if I was recently just writing a lesson in Korean or writing sentences in Korean, then my thoughts are going to be in Korean to match whatever it is that I'm doing. If I'm having a conversation with someone in Korean, I'm not thinking in English at all. It's 100% in Korean because otherwise it's going to mess up my train of thought. I'm not going to be able to speak if I have to go back and forth. So if I'm in Korea, I'm just thinking in English until the second I start speaking Korean with someone, and then I'm going to be speaking in Korean. And then I walk back outside and I can talk to myself in English again, go back into a store, and I might switch to Korean because I know I'm going to have to use Korean to pay for something. It's kind of like that. You have no discernible accent or tone of a place in the US. Thank you. That is yeah, it's like totally intentional. I'm like kind of like trying to speak more like, generally everyone speaks in America. I'm not trying to like talk like how we might say it sound in California. No, I just kind of have this, I kind of speak a little bit more clearly when I'm like teaching or if I'm doing live streams. But I mean, if it's just kind of my way of speaking now, I guess. If I'm talking with my family members, though, I'll be a little bit harder to understand, I think, because, we're all used to each other. We can speak really quickly. We don't have to like speak clearly. But in general, yeah, this is just how I talk now. Like, totally. Like, oh my God. Seriously? Did you see that? I can't even believe it. It's so ridiculous. It's like totally Billy for Siri voice. Yes. What's the Siri voice? I don't have Siri. Taeyoung Kuma says, I remember because fish is a majority out of stock everywhere here in Canada. Easter candy is on sale tomorrow. Yeah. My favorite Easter candy is Cadbury caramel eggs and Cadbury cream eggs. They're so good. I'm just upset they made them smaller. They said they don't make them smaller, but they made them smaller over the years. Cadbury cream eggs used to be like this big. Like they're legitimately like almost the size of they're like an actual, like a small or medium sized egg. And then they made them smaller. And when people called them out, they're like, oh, they didn't get smaller. You just got bigger. And like, no, they didn't. You made them smaller. I remember they were like comparable almost to an egg. Anyway, those were really good. They're still pretty good. They were better when they were bigger. I like those. What else? I also like Peeps. I'm a Peep fan. I just try not to eat them because they're just pure sugar. But Peeps are also really good. I like to bite the heads off of Peeps. In front of their friends, bite their head off. You're next. Yeah, Peeps are good too. Yeah, the caramel eggs are good. But I usually don't only go for the caramel eggs because they're a little bit harder to find. I think the cream eggs are more common, but caramels are really good. What else do I like for snacks? Oh yeah, Whoppers. Whoppers are really good. Sometimes those are in my Easter basket when my mom used to make me that. Whoppers. Or Maltesers or whatever they call them. The European version, which are actually a little bit better than Whoppers. But those are good too. Hey, Evolving Brain. Careful, Evolving Brain. You're almost you're almost what Christopher did. Christopher gave 50 and you're doing like increments, getting close to him. If you want someone to reveal their American accent, ask him to say both flag, egg, Mary, 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 terrible, horrible. Both flag, egg, Mary, Mary, Mary. Yeah, Mary, 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 terrible, horrible. Yeah. And what is it? If you want someone to reveal that they're Scottish, is it? Or is Scottish, I think? You ask him to say purple burglar alarm. Something like that. Because they can't say it. Purple burglar alarm. Yeah. Peeps. Squishy and crunchy at the same time. Yeah, that sugar is just like crunchy and... yeah, Maltesers. That's right. Yeah. I've tried Maltesers and they are better than Whoppers. I'll admit that. Because the chocolate is better. Better quality chocolate. But overall, it's not like... I don't know, it's not like twice as good, but they cost like 3 times as much. But if someone says, hey, do you want some Maltesers or some Whoppers? I'll pick the Maltesers because they are a little better. Scottish, that's right, yeah. Poor Scots. Yeah, Myeongon is famous words. 대사 is like, that's the dialogue. That's your lines in a show. Mary, Mary, and Mary are much more distinct in East Coast accents than West Coast. Mary, Mary, Mary. I don't know. Are those different? How do you say those differently? Mary, Mary, Mary. I'm just making this up. How would I don't even know how you would say that. I'm trying to say like what would Harry Potter say? Mary, Mary. Mary. They still sound the same to me. I don't believe you. I think you're just tricking me. I think these are all the same. Okay, Pippin. Yeah. Is that more like Pippin than a Harry Potter? Yes, we've had one. But what about second breakfast? They're different. Mary, Mary, Mary. Sure. Oh, okay, I can kind of see it now. Yeah, okay. I got it. Mary, Mary, and Mari. Mari. My favorite British candy are fruit pastilles. That just sounds gross. Sorry. Pastilles just makes me think of like, I don't know, colored pencils. Or like ink or like something that you'd use for like drawing with. I didn't know British has candy. I guess they have candy. You have to make up for the bad tasting food, right? With some good candy. That makes sense. We don't round the R's as much. Okay. I'm in Massachusetts. We have a whole dialect of our own. That's right. Yeah, Massachusetts. They are sugar-covered hard gummies. You know what that sounds like? We have candy like that in the US too. When you leave it on the counter for a week and your sugar-covered soft gummies become hard. So you're telling me I can make my own British sweets. That's what you're telling me. Just takes about a few weeks. I will defend British food, especially dessert. I'm not talking about desserts. I'm talking about their food, okay? Nobody said British people don't have good desserts. Like, you got to wash that food down with something. It's funny, you ask any British person, what's the best food here? It's going to be like curry, French food, Italian. To be fair, though, a lot of the traditional American food we have, like when you think like, what's traditional American food? It's British food brought over into the US and combined with some food that's like Native American, some stuff, or whatever food we would have like, I think turkey is one that they don't really have over there, but we do over here. Pumpkin is another one we have over here. Tomatoes are also from Americas, as I believe. Lots of other like foods that we have here. Unless tomatoes were from there, but they didn't eat them. But we had anyway, something like that. There's like different combinations. So like it's good. They have some good food, but you have to kind of like you have to work it. You have to massage it to make it edible. The disrespect on Subby. Please stop. I have before me a packet of Worcestershire sauce flavored crisps. Worcester. You say Worcester? I say whatever that is. I don't actually know how it's pronounced. I have it. I have a lot of it in my cupboard. That actually sounds really good. Worcester sauce flavored crisps. Chips. It sounds really good. Okay. Again, not food. A snack. But okay. Yorkshire pudding. Yeah. Yorkshire pudding's good. That's pretty good. I feel like they called it pudding though, just to trick you so that you'll eat it because it actually tastes pretty good. Like, no, we're serious. It's delicious. Try it. It's Yorkshire pudding. What? Oh, you're right. This is pretty good. Like, and then the name just stuck. Fish and chips. Okay, fish and chips is like literally you can't make food that's deep fried and tastes bad. You could deep fry like a tennis shoe. So I don't think fish and chips counts. It's deep fried potatoes and deep fried fish, and you put vinegar on it. So even if it's like bad fish, it's still going to taste good because the vinegar is going to like numb your tongue and cover all the flavors. So doesn't count. Next. Cornish pasties. I don't know what that is. I know Cornish hen. Is that kind of like that? Yorkshire pudding is gorgeous. Best part of it is really good. Sausage rolls. Okay. Daddy Dojang asks, have you been to Jeju-do before? Yes, I have. I've been there just once before. I went there for, I think it was like 3 or 4 days. We did a tour like all around it. We had a private taxi we hired, which is actually not that expensive. You can hire a private taxi driver who will pick you up every day, drive you all around where you want to go, wait for you at each location because you need a car there. It's not like if you have public transportation there, you're going to be wasting all your time just waiting for the bus. And then there's a lot of places you can't really go without a car or without direct transportation there. So yeah, I went there. It was great. I really want to go back. Mushy peas and gravy on your fish and chips. I thought we were talking about good stuff. Why do you have to say mushy peas? Gravy's good. I don't know about mushy peas, though. Tartar sauce. Is tartar sauce British? Tartar sauce is really good. Curry sauce, that's Indian. But I'll give you that. It is really good, too. You know what I really miss is proper good waffles that you can get in the US. It's hard to find good waffles here. Yeah, if anyone wants to know what waffles are really about, go to a Southern style waffle restaurant in the US. I'm not talking, don't go to like KFC. Don't go to like your American diner and get waffles. That's not what I'm talking about. Go to a Southern restaurant, like a place that sells chicken and waffles. Go there and get yourself some waffles. They're on a whole nother level from what you can get at like regular restaurants. It's amazing. I don't go often. Maybe once a year, I'll go to a restaurant in downtown LA called Roscoe's. If you're from LA, you know exactly where this is. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. It's fantastic. It's like the best chicken, fried chicken. If you want fried chicken kind, obviously Korean has some great chicken that's seasoned, but if you want fried chicken, it's the best fried chicken I've ever had. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and the best waffles I've had at the same time. So like thin, but not hard. They're like they still manage to be like soft on the inside and crispy on the outside, but without being completely dry. Put some syrup on there with like some thin, battered, crispy chicken wings. Oh, so good. They also make really good collard greens there if you're into that, and mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is pretty good too. Asking for a friend, does shepherd's pie qualify? Does that qualify as British food? Yes. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that qualifies. But traditionally, I'd say no, because the older recipes for shepherd's pie are not like what shepherd's pie is today, where you typically now, if you have a shepherd's pie, it is a bunch of browned beef, and on top of that will be mashed potatoes mixed with like carrots and peas sometimes. It's kind of like that. It's like beef on the bottom and like mashed potatoes on the top. But traditionally, it would have been more simple with just kind of like vegetables mixed together with lamb, because it was a shepherd's pie. So you'd have like random cuts of lamb or whatever. So I think it's better if you have it the more common version today. But yeah, I think that counts. And it's really good. What I like to do if you make shepherd's pie, in fact, this is a secret for a lot of meat pies. Now, this doesn't apply to fruit pies. Fruit pies, you bake them, you cut them, you eat them fresh. That's the best. Meat pies, however, what I think tastes better is you bake it and you let it cool completely. Do not eat your meat pie or your shepherd's pie right after it's baked. You let it sit, because a lot of the ingredients, when they're hot, they get really liquidy and soft. So after it cools down, it kind of hardens, it solidifies into its shape, and the flavors get mixed better. So if you have it right away, you end up with like, you're burning your tongue. The top is just still like, the mashed potatoes, or it's the pie crust, and then the bottom's just the pie crust, and that's it. It's all separate. But then when you let it sit, the top crust gets a lot more of the flavor in it, and then it solidifies as is. So when you let it cool, and then you can reheat it after that, then you get the crust that has more of the flavor mixed in, instead of just crust, meat, and ingredients and crust. So that's what I like to do for like meat pies. So like chicken pot pie, shepherd's pie, even though shepherd's pie is not really like, doesn't have a crust, but it still kind of counts for this. Let it cool down, let it get hard so that you can cut it into pieces, put it on a serving plate, then microwave it to heat it up to however hot you want, and then serve it, and it's going to be better than fresh. I guarantee you it's better. At least that's what I do. That's what I found. Because I have a recipe for chicken pot pie that I make maybe like once every couple years. I don't make it often, not because it's not good, but because it is legitimately going to make you fat by looking at it. I counted, it has over 5,000 calories in a single chicken pot pie when I make it. Use a whole stick of freaking butter. And I got like some recipes I combined. There's someone's grandmother's recipe from like 1890 something that I found on the internet for crust. That's really good. It's like uses lots of butter. It's just like butter and flour and a little bit of egg, I think, or something. It's really simple. And then you make that, and it's like, really crumbly type of crust. And then the chicken recipe has, lots more butter in it, and kind of like you make a gravy with the chicken and lots of vegetables and stuff. And yeah, the pie is extremely unhealthy, but I made it, and the first time I tried it, the first couple times, like you serve it right away and eat it, and I'm like, oh, it tastes really good. But I noticed that the day after I had it, each time it tasted much better. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe it tastes better because it's not so hot. But like, no, it tastes better because the flavors kind of, absorb into each other, and anyway, actually, the closer something is at room temperature, the more clearly you can taste it. That makes sense. Dumplings. I think every culture's version of dumplings are amazing. What dumplings does America have? Do we have dumplings in the US? What would those be? I mean, we have pot stickers at Trader Joe's, but I don't think those count. Do we have dumplings in the US? I'm trying to think. Is there a US version of dumplings? Something where it's like wrapped in dough. I can't think of anything. I mean, other than like a pie, I can't really think of anything. Evolving Brain said, ever tried Mimi's Cafe chicken pot pie? I have, and mine's better. Just saying. Just saying. But I have. No, I got serious about chicken pot pie. I do it in a cast iron, do it in the oven. I add all, fresh ingredients. I don't skimp on any of them. I don't try to make it healthy at all. It's just 100% how can I make this taste better and have a better texture? Chicken dumplings, but not mandu style. Okay. Shepherd's pie is lamb, cottage pie is beef. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Shepherd's pie is the lamb one, and then cottage pie is the beef one. Usually people make cottage pie, and we call it shepherd's pie because it's more familiar. But that's true. Originally, shepherd's pie should be lamb, and cottage pie is beef. But in that case, I've never made a shepherd's pie before. I only make cottage pie. Mimi's Cafe or Marie Callender's? Marie Callender's is good. I haven't had their chicken pot pie before, but like I said, the one that I make, I'm not bragging. It's not my recipe. It's my combination of other people's recipes that I stole. Is already good enough. I'm not going to bother with it. But Marie Callender's has really good regular pies. All of their pies are super good. Banana cream pie is my favorite there. Rhubarb pie is a close second. If I'm bored, I'll get cherry pie or like a berry pie. Anyway, all of their pie is really good, but it's the banana cream pie that does it for me. Chicken. Thanks for sharing. Daddy was wrong. Do you have that kind of dumpling too? Chicken and dumplings. I don't think I've had that before. But that sounds really good. I can imagine what it would be. I make turkey pot pie with Thanksgiving leftovers. You should give it a try. That sounds really good. Turkey pot pie. Now, if you do that with white meat instead of dark meat, you would probably end up with a superior chicken pot pie because the white meat on turkey is like a higher quality version of regular chicken, I think. If you use the dark meat, I think you'd run into a problem because the pieces would end up getting hard after you cook them. They'd end up getting chewy. So you'd be eating the pie and then there'd be these like kind of chewy bits where you're biting into the meat. And I wouldn't say it wouldn't taste bad, but if you're like chewing into it, I think it wouldn't be as good. But if you use the light meat, maybe a tiny bit of the dark meat for like extra flavor, but focused on the light meat of the turkey, I think you could have something that's superior to regular chicken pot pie. Yeah, that sounded really good. I found the perfect banana cream pie in Seoul when I was there a few weeks ago. Really? Doubt. But tell me where it is. I'm curious. I'll try it. I'll give a verdict. Chicken and dumplings in US is basically chicken soup with biscuit dough, carrots. Chicken soup with biscuit dough. Okay, I mean, sounds fine. Like, probably tastes good. Basically, it's a chicken pot pie, but the ingredients are outside and the dough is on the inside. I can imagine it tastes pretty good. I want to try making something Korean, but I'm a terrible cook. Is there anything easy that I could try? Yeah, you can do bulgogi. Bulgogi is one of the easiest things to make because you can literally just go down to the grocery store and buy bulgogi sauce in the Asian aisle. I'm saying it like that because it's just written in English. It'd be like real authentic Korean bulgogi sauce. Just get that, marinate your beef in that. You're good to go. You're done. Cook it in a pan. Oops, I accidentally cooked it in a pot. Okay. Oops, I accidentally baked it. Cool. Oops, I threw it in the air fryer. Whatever. You're good. It's done. Just serve that with rice and some, lettuce and whatever you have. If you have kimchi too, great. Bulgogi. Easiest thing to cook. A close second, if you want something that's a little bit more fancy, but still easy to make, I'd say is japchae. Japchae has a few extra steps because you have to boil the tangmyeon, the potato starch noodles, and then add them in after. You also have to chop a lot of vegetables really thin. So you have to chop carrots like long and thin. But japchae is also pretty easy to make and will impress people. You have to buy the shiitake mushrooms and dunk them in water for several hours to make them soft. But then once you do that, you just throw them in. So it has more steps, but I think it's still pretty easy to do. You don't have to have like special cooking skill to do it, except for the chopping part. But if you can't do the chopping part, you can just buy pre-shredded carrots at the store and just add in, you know, a cup of those. So it's not really a big deal. Something like that. Let's see what else. Oh, the easiest thing that can also impress people is 볶음밥. Fried rice. Fried rice is super easy to make, and you can impress people with it, and it'll taste really good. So the secret is you use fried rice, believe it or not. No, you use day-old rice. You use your old rice. You can make 볶음밥 with fresh rice too. In fact, that's how they do it at restaurants usually. But if you make it yourself, you can make it better than that because you use rice that's left over. Because it's gotten harder again, you add a little bit of oil to your pan. You put it on medium heat. You don't want to burn it. Just a little bit of oil. You're not going to be cooking all of the rice in oil. And you just add a little bit of oil. That way you can add butter and the butter won't burn. So you're actually going to cook it in butter. You just put like half a stick of butter in the bottom of a pan. And on medium heat, you cook rice until the rice is nice and cooked. Then you open up the center. You crack an egg or two in there. Cook those. Make them scrambled. Mix that in. Add in, actually you want to do the egg last before the other ingredients. You add in frozen peas, no preparation, just add in a bunch of frozen peas, add in a bunch of some frozen corn, boom, add in some kimchi, cook it, mix it in good, add in the egg like I said, mix it in good, add in some Spam, chop it up into little cubes, or sausage, or beef if you want, or shrimp, any kind you want, add that in. Then you mix that all up, make another center. When I say make another center, make another hole in the center, put a handful of mozzarella cheese in there. Then you fold everything over that hole and turn off the heat and press it down so the cheese is just at the bottom, and then you're done. You can sprinkle like shredded little bits of like seaweed on top of it, or if you have like roasted sesame seeds, put those on top and then eat it. You scoop it out, there will be like cheese at the bottom and kimchi and all the vegetables in there. Super easy to make. You can do it with any ingredients you want. You could add or remove anything you want, but that's just the basic way of how it works. Made that a lot. Matzo balls are Jewish dumplings. Yes, I think that's fair, yeah. Matzo balls are Jewish dumplings. Bibimbap is also simple in the ingredients, but I would say it's a little bit annoying to source some of the ingredients for it, depending on what kind you want to make. So, and also I think bibimbap is not as impressive if you wanted to make it for someone else to kind of show off, like, oh, I can make Korean food. Bibimbap is not the one you want to make, even though it's good and it's simple to make. You want something that they're going to try and be like, wow, this is really good. Oh, wow, I love Korean food. Like that sort of thing. I wouldn't say go for bibimbap unless you can do like maybe like one of the ones with like fish eggs in it, like one of the more fancy kinds of bibimbap, then sure, go for it if you have like a nice stone bowl. But if you're just doing it at your house with regular bowls, it's not going to impress people as much as some of the other things would. Cooking with Billy channel. Yeah, I thought about it, but whenever I cook, I never make things look that pretty. I always just cook for flavor and general, like, it looks okay to eat. I never really try to focus on, let's make something that looks really pretty for the camera. So I think I'd fail at that kind of channel. I would need someone else to help me. Maybe if I pulled in my wife to like plate everything really nice and pretty. Like I cook it, but she plates it. That could work because she's nice. She's good at plating stuff. And other than that though, nah, I just want to cook and enjoy it myself. I don't want to have to be like, prepare everything and cook it, and then I'm like filming a video and editing. I just want to cook it and eat it. I just want to eat. Make a quesadilla. I can make a killer quesadilla, okay? Quesadilla is different. Just take tortilla, oil the pan, tortilla on the bottom, flip it over, a little bit of oil on the top as well. Make sure you get both sides oily. Then you cook it medium low heat until the bottom's just starting to get kind of brown. Flip it over, add a big handful of cheddar cheese in there, shredded cheddar cheese, fresh cheddar cheese if you have it because it'll melt faster. Fold it, okay? A little bit of cheese on top, flip, a little bit of cheese on top. turn up the heat to high or medium high, get the cheese crispy, flip it again until the other side's crispy as well, turn off the heat, take it out, you're done. I don't like adding chicken or any other things to it. Just want cheese quesadilla whenever I make it. Very easy to do, and then you can cut it in a few pieces, dip it in sour cream or salsa or guacamole or all three, and that's all you got to do. It takes like less than 5 minutes. Tteokbokki is pretty easy, says Legendeer. Yes, tteokbokki is really easy. They have kits you can use also where you literally just open up the pouches and add them together in water and it's done. If you don't, the secret, I'll tell you something else. So tteokbokki, I'm going to give you the secret that the ajumas will hate you if you know this secret. So if you try tteokbokki and it tastes amazing and you're like, why does it taste so good? There's a secret. These are the 2 ingredients. Oh, one more. So I'll tell you what they mean. So first we have pa. Pa is green onion. The way you make tteokbokki taste really good is actually nothing to do with tteok, and it's nothing to do with the other ingredients that go into it. It's actually the base. And it's the base before you even add the sauce, before you make it the sauce. When it's the water, that's where it gets that je ne sais quoi. That's when it gets that special something. The way you do it is you chop off the roots of green onions. You know, the white part that you throw away, or you could plant it and grow more if you want. I actually recommend doing that if you have green onions. Chop off the bottom, stick them in a cup of water, put it by the window. It's going to grow in a week. You don't have to do anything. But anyway, you put the roots in the water when you boil it. Boil it for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. Then throw them away. They also add myeolchi. So you can add a few, like a handful of dried anchovies. Stick them in there, boil them again, 5 minutes or so, take them out, throw them away. If you have it, tashima. Oh, I can't really write, I don't have any space. I'll erase it here. You already know, you already wrote that down, of course. Tashima is like it's like a thick sheet of dark green colored like seaweed, and they're usually hard. You can add tashima in there as well, although usually you can get by with just using powder to replace tashima. I found like the powder does not replace the pa, and the powder doesn't replace the myeolchi as well, because the powdered anchovies don't taste as good as the fresh ones. I mean, the dried ones, and they don't taste as good as the powdered green, the fresh green onions. So you can replace tashima though with tashima powder, which you can buy it, which is the Ajinomoto. It's the Japanese brand. You can get that one, or they also sell tashima powder as well at the grocery store. So if you don't have it, anyway, you add that as well. Same thing, throw it out. That's your base. You start with that. You're going to have really good tteokbokki no matter what else you do. So your recipe might say like, oh, now you add in sugar. Now you add in, this much gochujang. That's not, you've already done the most important part. But if you want to know the next secret of a lot of the street vendors that like, they won't tell you, is they actually add in ketchup to their recipe. Not corn syrup, just like not just sugar and not just, tomato sauce, but they actually just add in ketchup, straight up ketchup in there. It's not all ketchup, but they add in some ketchup for the sweetness. A lot of them use Heinz ketchup. There doesn't have to be that. Anyway, those are your little secrets. But if you just get the water part correct with the anchovies and green onions and tashima, you're going to have, it's like 90% there. If you just turn off the flame and try that, you're going to be like, oh, it actually kind of tastes good. Like that's it, is just getting the sauce right. If you just do that, and then you can do whatever version you want. You can make like really spicy kind, you can make really mild kind or sweet kind, whatever. Doesn't matter. They'll all be good starting from that. Evolving Brain says, rice or wheat flour tteok. Okay, so that's another, that one actually, there's an answer to it. So there's 밀떡, which is wheat tteok, the rice cake, and there's 쌀 tteok, which is the rice one. So I'm just trying to see if there's a different word for it besides rice Yeah, okay, just rice cake. Sorry, I was trying to see if there's a different word for the rice cake. But the rice cake looks the same. You can see it at the store. It'll be sold. It looks the same, like those little tubes that are kind of cut slightly diagonally. This one's made with wheat. This one's made with rice. When you go to the grocery store, 90% of the ones you see are this. 살떡. When you eat it in Korea, I don't want to say 100%, but I'll say 99% of the tteokbokki that you're going to have in Korea is 밀떡, which is made with wheat. So if you make it yourself and you think, oh, it's really good, but it's not as good as the one I had in Korea that time, they had a secret recipe. No, they literally just use 밀떡. 밀떡 tastes better. It's chewier. And 밀떡 does not, this is the most important thing, 밀떡 does not absorb all of the water. It stops absorbing water. It only absorbs a little bit, and then it gets soft and chewy, and it stays that way. 쌀떡, on the other hand, absorbs water like it's nobody's business, and it keeps absorbing it. So if you make tteokbokki with 쌀떡, and then you leave it on your counter for like 4 hours, it's going to be like all nasty and mushy. 밀떡 will not do that. That's why they choose this one for the street food, because they can leave it on and keep it on all day, not worry about it getting all nasty and mushy by the end of the day. But that doesn't mean to say, okay, well then only eat 밀떡, right? No, because 쌀떡 has a fancy feeling to it because, oh, rice is more fancy and must be healthier than wheat, right? It's not. But there is the perception of that rice is fancier and more high scale than wheat items. Even though traditionally in Korea, it's been the opposite. Wheat has only been enjoyed by the upper class, and rice was more like everyone can get it. That was the lower class food. But anyway, nowadays it's kind of the opposite. So wheat is seen as like, oh, that's cheap. And rice, oh, that's fancy and expensive. So a lot of people, when they make this at home, they opt to do this because they feel like it's going to be a little fancier. And some people prefer, when it's cooked correctly, it's not overcooked, you eat it at the right time. Some people prefer this texture and flavor over this. So if you get it just the right time and, they're really good at cooking and someone makes it for you right then, this one, they're both good. For me personally, though, I prefer the chewier texture of this. And it's easier to eat because I can just kind of let it sit there and cool down. I can eat it when it's cold and not worry about it being too bloated. So yeah, that's your that's how you know the difference. Which one's better? It's up to you, but I think most people probably prefer this one. Okay, that's enough for today. That we've gotten way off track and I've lost half of you already. It's been a long journey. We started traveling together as a family with like 140 people, and now it's only 72 of us left. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Next Sunday, we'll have a real lesson, I promise. Not like a fake lesson like today. And I will see you again then. 그럼, you know the rest. 다음에 또 봐!